Nashua, listen, watch, and stream at wsmn.live.
USA Radio News, I'm Ron Warner. The FAA is changing course and reopening the skies over El Paso, Texas.
At first, the FAA announced late Tuesday that the El Paso airspace would be shut down to commercial, military, even medical flights for 10 days due to an unspecified security concern. But early Wednesday morning, the FAA posted on X that the temporary closure of the airspace had been lifted, adding there is no threat to commercial aviation. The announcement gave the all clear for flights to resume as normal. I'm Rory O'Neill.
A grand jury has declined to indict a coalition of Democratic lawmakers over a controversial illegal orders video last year.
U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Janine Pirro, pursued the indictment after the lawmakers urged military service members to defy illegal orders in a joint video statement. The video was in response to the Trump administration carrying out deadly boat strikes in the Caribbean. The lawmakers included Senators Mark Kelly and Alyssa Slotkin. I'm Mark Mayfield.
The TV talk show The View is under federal investigation for possibly violating rules concerning interviews with political candidates. The Federal Communications Commission is looking into whether the ABC program broke equal time rules by airing an interview with Texas State Representative James Tallarico last week. Tallarico discussed his race against U.S. Representative Jasmine Crockett in Texas's Democrat primary for the U.S. Senate. Talk shows were once exempt from equal time rules, but the FCC ruled last month that the exemption no longer applies. Evanston, Illinois will issue $25,000 payments to 44 Black residents or their descendants as part of the city's reparations program. The initiative, first approved in 2021, pledges $10 million over 10 years to address past housing discrimination. Supporters say it's a step towards equity, while critics argue the race-based eligibility could face constitutional challenges. Funding comes primarily from local cannabis and real estate transfer taxes. From America's News Network, USA Radio News.
Maybe this is you too. There's enormous frustration right now with healthcare costs. It is amazing. Healthcare costs for families in the last 20 years have almost tripled, and it just keeps getting worse. All this to say, this is why MediShare is so in demand right now. People are looking for alternatives, and MediShare is proven. You can save thousands of dollars a year and actually like it more. Over 1 million Americans are now part of healthcare sharing, and MediShare is the gold standard. It's trusted. It works. It's been helping people save money and have peace of mind now for 30 plus years. It's not some big impersonal thing either. It's a community of people like you helping each other. So yeah, if you're frustrated too, here's your chance to make a refreshing change. You'll notice the difference as soon as you call. They're easy to talk to. You can get a price within 2 minutes. Here is the number. Call 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
Dependable Lock Service is your source for replacement car keys, custom safes from Liberty Safe, and so many more lock and key services. With over 30 years of experience in lock and key industry, there's nothing Dependable Lock Service can't do for you. Whether you're looking for duplicate automotive chip keys, rekeying commercial and residential locks, or custom safe building, we've got you covered. Call 603-886-0559. Nashua's Dependable Lock Services, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
The sky's not the limit, it's just the beginning. I'm Ed Mullen from Nashua Aerial Advertising. There's no better way to advertise your business and or message than high in the sky. How can you make your advertising budget work for you? By putting your ads up where they'll stand out. The sky is an uncluttered, impressive venue. You can put your message over a region or location to target your desired demographic. Put your ads where they're needed. We provide coverage over communities through Merrimack Valley, Greater Nashua, Manchester, Lowell, and points throughout South Central New Hampshire and North Central Mass. Summertime beaches, sporting events, races, fairs, and festivals are all ready-made for banner telling. For more information, please visit us online at NashuaAerialAdvertising.com. And remember, the sky's not the limit, it's just the beginning.
Most social platforms throttle your reach, track your behavior, and decide what you're allowed to see. Audax does none of that. Here, you control the algorithm. Your posts go where you send them, without shadow bans, filters, or hidden limits. Audax doesn't spy on your private life. No one listens to your calls. No one monitors your searches. And because we don't take money from corporate advertisers, no one is manipulating what you see or how you use the platform. Audax is built for patriots who want a place to organize, speak freely, and push back against the issues facing America without interference. Freedom isn't free, but it's worth every penny. Join the Rise for Liberty project at audax1.com and take back your voice.
Tired of wondering where your money really goes. At Mammoth Nation, we built what was missing. The America First Marketplace. Every brand we feature is 100% American owned and operated, rigorously vetted for their values and committed to supporting our Constitution, law enforcement, and the American dream. When you shop with us, your dollar stays in the neighborhood, supporting families, veterans, and charities like Folds of Honor. No more sending your hard-earned money overseas to the companies that don't respect you here. Your dollar reflects your values. Your dollar, your values. Your America. Join Mammoth Nation today and be part of building a patriot economy by going to truckersunitedforfreedom.com affiliate page and hit that link. American built, America strong. Mammoth Nation.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Welcome to the Common Sense Conservatives, a political discussion group about current events and other government-related matters every Wednesday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. Right here on WSMN 1590 AM, WSMN 95.3 FM, and streaming live on wsmn.live. Making sense of the inverted reality we are subject to every day, the Common Sense Conservatives are here to help bring you back to reality. Now, your hosts, Chris Wyatt, Todd, McKinley, and John Griffin.
Well, welcome back, folks. It's Wednesday night. I can't confirm 100% that the views and opinions of the host of this program are the views and opinions of the host of this program. My co-host, John Grosvenor, up in the studio in Nashua, New Hampshire, and Todd McKinley in East Tennessee. John, would you agree that the opinions of the host on this program are, in fact, their opinions, or are we simply artificial intelligence-generated aliens?
Oh, no, this is live and real. And yes, these are our opinions as in three individuals, but they do not reflect the opinions of WSMN, its affiliates, and other associates.
I would submit to you, John, that that's exactly what artificial intelligence would claim.
It probably would. It probably would claim that much, much more.
I'm Todd Surrogate AI. Hello. I claim the same thing.
Well, you know, Todd, back in the day when we were short staff and I was supposed to be a major and I was a lieutenant and supposed to have a staff of 9 and there were 3 of us, I did have Lieutenant Hologram that worked for me. He showed up every now and then. It was kind of helpful.
Lieutenant Hologram. Tell me more, everybody.
Exactly. Todd, what's going on this week?
Oh, no, not much. A lot of crazy things here in Northeast Tennessee, in my home county, Sullivan County, Tennessee. Politics, as usual, has found its way to Sullivan County, which normally used to be safe Republican, safe conservative area where everybody kind of ran their own little campaign on their own issues. Now national politics has found its way to our county and stirring things up here. It's going to be interesting, and I may have a couple of local candidates on to talk about it at some point in the near future. It's getting quite interesting, but we'll talk about it more down the road.
All right, sounds like a good plan. John, I do believe we have a guest coming on this first hour. I've been down in Dallas, so am I up to date?
Our guest is postponed until the 25th, Todd.
Okay.
Yes,
excellent.
correct. Yeah, end of the month. Correct. Sorry about that.
Oh, so you mean I studied up on him for nothing? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you don't have to study later in the month, though.
I guess I'll have to. Hey, guys, before we get any further, and I know that this is radio, but there are people watching on the internet, and I just want to show this very quickly, very kind. You know, people who follow your program can be very generous. I received this in the mail today. It may have been delivered earlier because I was in Texas, but this lovely Cal Bears rugby jersey came
there you
to me.
go.
It's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
This came from one of my viewers who lives in Salt Lake. It's Courtney McBride. Thank you, Courtney, for that. Little shout out to Courtney and his fiance there in great Salt Lake area in Salt Lake City. Thank you so much for that, Courtney. Cal Bears, you know, as rugby jerseys and shirts go, you know, with the blue and maize, although it kind of looks like Michigan Wolverines, right. They are lovely colors. Thank you to my follower out there. Hey guys, before we get any further, I just want to say that I don't want to forget the story. Remind me to come up with the story a little bit later on, but there's a story circulating now that a local police officer has arrested a person they claim works for ICE and does background checks, and he was part of a prostitution ring. And People Magazine starts a story saying that they caught him with a U.S. government ID card that says he's a contractor authorized to do background checks. Let me just preempt that by saying that's a lie. Here's a U.S. government contractor ID card that I have. There is no mention of what I'm authorized to do anywhere on this card. That's simply a fabrication. This is how desperate the media is to lie about what's happening in America. But I didn't want to forget that before we get started. All right, so John, up there in Nashua, New Hampshire, we got stuff to talk about Nashua tonight. I'm not going to put you in the spot and say what's happening up there, but you can save it for later if you've got something. But
I can tell you that the House Republicans here in New Hampshire have pumped the brakes on trying to turn back the inspections, so they're going to continue forward one way or the other. I think I've updated you previously, Chris, that we had a judge ruled that our inspections our repeal of the inspection law can't go through because of EPA standards and stuff like that. We have to get permission to leave the ozone transport region, and so we may run into some difficulties there, but I think they're going to move forward to. You don't know what that is, Todd?
No, it's just so weird. They come up with so many stupid things like, oh, you're part of this. So now you have 15 things you have to do before you can even think about removing yourself from it.
Here's the stupid part.
Right?
It was voluntary to enter the OTR. So why did New Hampshire enter in the first place? And I'm sure there was government grant money involved and all this other nonsense way back in the day. We're talking about early 90s. So anyway, we do have that going on. And we have AYOT has vetoed a bill for keeping transgenders out of, or I should say, men who the bill primarily was for to keep people to identify people by their sex at birth, and therefore they would choose the restrooms of their sex at birth and stuff like that to prevent perversion and stuff in restrooms where men will dress up as women just simply to get near to get near the women and commit wrongful things and things like that. But she vetoed it, said it should be more of a narrow margin. I assume what she means by that is leave it up to the towns and the cities to enforce that on their own as they see fit.
Well, that makes sense. But, the things are never voluntary. They're issued as voluntary to get a sense of things, but the intent is to suppress your liberty. Look no further than the requirement to register your UAVs, your unmanned aerial vehicles or drones. The Federal Aviation Communication required about 10 years ago that you're required to register them. And you have to put a number, identification, like a license plate registration on each of your devices. And it's free. We won't charge you for this. And when it came time to renew, they charged you. Yep. So my drones have sat in the closet now for about 5 years because they can go pound sand. I'm not paying the federal government to spy on me and repress my liberty. I don't need my drone that much.
It seems to me when you bring that up, Chris, when they first started registering vehicles, it was supposed to be a one-time registration. Then they started charging you annual registrations and things like that too.
Just another way to steal money out of your pocket for performing your service. Yeah. Service is unnecessary. Once a vehicle's registered once, you should never have to. The only thing that's reasonable to expect for a motor vehicle is an inspection, because vehicles do degrade. They do need to be maintained, and people, it's good to do that. But re-registering your vehicle, that's just a way to steal money out of people's pockets. And the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania actually lets me do it online, and I pay them $200 every 2 years for nothing. I print it out myself. I use my own paper, my own toner, and my own time. They do jack squat, and they get $200, which, in the scheme of things is pretty good. If I lived in Washington State, it cost me a heck of a lot more Arizona to register my car because they throw a tax on top of that, which is outrageous. But that's just what they do. These governments just take and take and take. And it's the same way with many of these programs. Things that are not supposed to cost anything will eventually cost something. So Pennsylvania is part of this idiotic regional greenhouse gas initiative. We talked about that in the past, Reggie. And what that does is charge us more for our electricity because carbon emissions, but we're not using the electricity. Connecticut's using it, Massachusetts using it, New Jersey and New York are using our electricity, and we, residents of Pennsylvania, pay higher fees while they get a free ride because we're generating electricity here and they're using it, we're paying for the carbon. It's the dumbest thing ever. And when we had Doug Mastriano running for governor, he campaigned on this, and people were just stone deaf silent. Yet they complain about their electric bills every darn month. Yet they're too stupid to realize that one of the reasons we pay more is because this idiotic rate we're paying, because these morons in Harrisburg set us up for this, John.
I never understood this, Chris. Why is it they produce electricity in Maine, but it goes to Connecticut? How does that work exactly? Because that's a long way to travel for electricity. Or I think some states are getting it out of Canada.
Yeah, that's true. Not really. In fact, we had a cascading effect because of a fault in Canada a number of years back in the Northeast. It knocked out
I
a
remember that.
transformer system in
Yeah.
Ohio near Cleveland and knocked out several states. No, it's look, electricity moves. Yeah, there is a loss of it over distance, but electricity travels hundreds, thousands of miles to get from consumer to consumer.
It can.
It's just,
Yeah.
it's just a way that they distribute electricity. I mean, it makes sense to some respect, but my issue is more that why are people paying for carbon emissions to generate power for someone else? That's morally bankrupt. I mean, that's like telling me I must pay higher insurance premiums to subsidize the accident-prone people in New Jersey who drive like morons. That's not fair.
Well,
Right.
now I'm hearing California wants to raise taxes on the elderly, the retired, so they can offset their costs for illegals.
Yeah, because the elderly and retired can't get up and leave and move as easily as younger people that are more mobile in their jobs and things of that nature.
There's so
Well,
many elderly out there just skating by. I mean, they're barely getting by the
Barely.
Come on, John. They've all got extra money in their pocket because Trump
Sure.
ended tax and Social Security. So now that California wants that money.
Yeah, there you go.
That is
Wow,
true.
they got
That
that
is
extra
true.
$50 a month or something, and
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. So they just want to take the money that Trump gave them back. Yeah, California. Well, hey, look, Jeff Zuckerberg is leaving California, moving to Florida. Another California billionaire leaving, and lots of wealthy Californians are not moving to Texas and Florida, which we've been hearing about, but neighboring Nevada. They're moving to Reno and to Taos and to Vegas to get away from the ADAC policies in Washington State and in California. It's they're depopulating the West Coast, but it's okay though. Plenty of illegals slipping in to fill their spots, so they can come in with their illegal incomes of $10,000 to $20,000, making up for $2 billion in annual income. Hey, that'll work.
it's a liberal it's a liberal conspiracy, Chris. They drive them out with taxation and BS
Right.
laws, and they bring their ideologies with them right to our conservative states.
Yeah. Are they trying to tax the people that are trying to leave, sell major properties that are worth millions, and try to take a lot of that money from them? I think that's what's going on.
California has gone out of its way to try to claim tax on people that are no longer residents of that state. They're just evil.
Mhm.
And what kills me is that people in California just go along with it. I mean, there's no, remember Prop 13 back in the 70s? People demonstrating in the streets and they demanded property taxes be kept. And there was big movements about this. And what do we get now? Where are the Republicans? Why aren't they not demonstrating? Why aren't they in the streets up in arms about what's happening? They're just silent.
Right.
Californians get what they deserve. They voted for this nonsense. Look, I said the same thing about Pennsylvania. We get what we deserve. We get idiotic Republicans who sit in Harrisburg who are just Republicans in name only, country club Republicans. We just had a law passed saying that you cannot have in the Senate. Only one senator voted against it in the entire state. Out of whatever we have, 50 senators, close to 50 senators. Only one voted against it, and that was Dawn Kiefer, our former representative here, became a senator in the last election when I ran for her vacant seat. She's the only person voted against this. The law says that you cannot have a cell phone in a school. Now, obviously, the intent is to be a nanny state and say that, this is so children can't have cell phones. But why is the state creating a law when local school districts should have policies that prevent school from? Because here's the problem. What happens when an active shooter winds up in a high school? Now there's no cell phones and you can't get to the office to make a phone call. How many people die now because of this stupidity and these morons in the Pennsylvania legislature? People who are dumb should wear signs. Stupid people should walk around with signs, John. I mean, they really should.
Yeah.
Just have a sign on. It's like Bill Engvall says, let me ask. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see your sign. Let me ask somebody who knows what they're talking about. It's really sad to see this stuff, Todd. I mean, that these people think they're helping the communities by creating more laws and oppressing our freedom.
Right. Well, for them, they know better than you how do you live your life, how to spend your money. They know where you should go eat, whatever, and where you should spend your time, what movies you should watch. They know better than you how to raise your children. So we should just let them, right? Give them all of our money. We sit back and just take a break, right? I think that's probably what they want.
Not only do they think they know better, but they want to take control of your children. They claim that the state is in charge of your children. They literally have said that.
It's joint. What do they call it? Joint parenting or whatever they call it. I can't remember. They had an acronym for a while.
Yeah. Parental rights is a thing, ladies and gentlemen. Hold your ground.
John,
yes, you
don't
should.
you know it takes a village?
Hey, I'm not saying there's not some truth to that. I mean, we were
Right.
kids. We had parents that looked out for other people. Hey, you know what I saw your kid doing the other day? But they weren't the ones to come over and scold us. They weren't the ones to come over and punish us.
I am sarcastically
I know
referring
what
to
you're
Hillary
saying.
Clinton's
I know what you're saying.
idiotic concept.
Yeah.
Speaking of, she
Okay,
does throw stones in glass houses, doesn't she? She was over there talking about how some senator worked really hard to get a 5-year-old away from ICE who wrongfully detained a 5-year-old. Well, see, ICE went to arrest his father, and his father fled, left the vehicle that he was driving with his 5-year-old in it. So he abandoned his own child. And so what were they supposed to do with their 5-year-old? But you remember back in 1993 with Elian Gonzalez?
Elian, yeah, correct.
Yeah, she's over here throwing stones in glass houses here.
His sister was Marisol. I'll never forget the first time I heard the name Marisol.
Yep. Here's a nice comment if you don't mind here. Joe Texas with a Z says, Colonel, not sure if you read the comments. Please know that without you, many people would not have known about the refugee program. Thank you. Salute to you. There you go.
Oh, well, thank you, Joe Texas. It's very kind of you. Yeah, there's probably a lot of truth, but you wouldn't know it from the mainstream media. But that's perfectly fine. We don't count on the mainstream media to
we don't
indoctrinate us. We evaluate, analyze for ourselves, and we listen to people who will challenge us, not simply tell us what we want to hear, blow smoke up our skirts. By the way, I hope you guys aren't wearing skirts. I'm wearing shorts tonight. Just asking.
If I was wearing I've got towards that, it would be a kilt, and I don't wear kilts either.
I'm just asking for a friend, John. That's all.
I know.
Oh my goodness! Wow, that's just crazy. No, listen. It's so we just had the SAVE Act pass the House, 218 to 313. One Democrat voted for it, and one Republican voted against it. I'm going to guess it's Massey. Who else would it be from Kentucky? That rhino needs to go.
It would have to be probably. You don't like Massey, huh?
Well, he's proven to be a bit of a turd lately, so yes, I don't like him.
Well, I think he's been consistent. I think things just kind of shifted. Same thing with Rand Paul. Rand Paul hasn't changed. He's been consistent. But I think the thing with Republicans today is kind of shifted. I mean, it's a mega movement, and they're not on board with that.
Well, their opposition to the MAGA movement means opposition to conservatism, which is bigger and broader and more deeply seated than the MAGA movement. We've been here for a long time, and we'll be here for a long time. And when you vote against common sense legislation, even though I oppose most legislation, then your head is up your backside, and that's where his head is. And he's just intentionally obstructing anything Trump comes up with because his feelings are hurt, and that's just not helpful. That's juvenile.
Yeah.
It's
that's
juvenile.
Not good legislative practices by any means. But yeah, no, I'm with you on it. I'm for the SAVE Act. It's common sense for voter integrity. That's what we need right now. I don't know how they're going to enforce it, but
well, I don't know either, and I have questions about its constitutionality, honestly, because the Constitution says that the place and manner of elections will be left up to the states, individual states. So I'm not sure that this interferes with the place and manner of the elections, although there'll be an argument from the American Criminal Liberties Union and the Southern Poverty Law Center and other retards like that it does. But I worry about the constitutionality from that standpoint. We've seen the Constitution used against itself. For instance, the Equal Protection Clause has been used to pass a whole bunch of bogus legislation like the Civil Rights Act, which gives preferential treatment, the Voting Rights Act, which gives preferential treatment to some Americans over others, and to uphold affirmative action for years. But the Equal Protection Clause actually argues against those sort of things. No American is special, more special than the other American. That's why we have equal protection. And this was done to protect the former slaves. That's why it's in the 14th Amendment. It's certainly not something that should be used to undermine Americans and be extended to criminal alien invaders. Oh, they have rights. No, they have no rights. You cross our border illegally as a criminal, and you have zero rights.
Actually, they would have certain rights, like 14th Amendment, which you mentioned says person, not citizen. And so they do have a right to due process. But a lot of people get that confused, I think. And they're thinking, well, Trump can't deport them because they have a right to due process. No, they did not sign up and acknowledge they're here, and that's part of due process.
Right. The deportation is part of the due process. A judge says you were ordered to remove from the country. There you go. You had your due process. Sorry.
Yes, exactly.
Well, speaking of which, the whole situation with Minneapolis all came down to a question of final deportation orders. The scumbag convicted felons that they're chasing up there because the authorities in Minneapolis and St. Paul refused to turn over 1,465 convicted felons who had detainers and final deportation orders from the judge or judges. They released 470 of them into the streets of Minneapolis, St. Paul, rapists, murderers, and pedos, amongst other things, and bank robbers and home burglars. These people are responsible. The officials in Minneapolis, St. Paul are responsible for what's happening up there. And they are the ones who bear the responsibility for anything that happens, including the death of these idiotic leftist fake soldiers blocking streets and getting themselves shot by interfering with law enforcement.
Malfeasance in government can be a dangerous thing.
Well, yeah, that's true. And idiotic elected officials, who are nothing better than used car salesmen and ambulance chasing shyster lawyers really are not particularly good. I tell you what, if we gave a civics test to the members of the House of Representatives, You want to guess what the passing rate would be? I'll bet you it's maybe 45 to 48% of the members of the House representatives can even identify things that people who take the citizenship test could pull off.
Yeah, I'd say you're right. There's some smart people there who could probably, if they studied a little bit, pass it for sure. But if you said, "Hey, here's the test," no studying, it would be a low number percentage wise for sure.
Well, and the key point there is some members. That's why I thought I was
Some.
being
That's why I
generous.
said some. Correct.
That's why I think I'm being generous at 45 to 48%. I mean, I think
I thought it was a little too high though. I think maybe like 30%.
Yeah, you might be right. But yeah, as I mentioned, billionaire Jeff Zuckerberg is fleeing California to escape from the demon rat-backed punitive tax that's coming out. The Facebook founder and his wife, Priscilla Chan, are reportedly purchasing a new mansion on Indian Creek in Miami. Miami! Hey, they're headed down south. Yes, part of South Florida's exclusive billionaire bunker. His neighbors will include Jeff Bezos, Tom Brady, Carl Icahn, Ivanka Trump, and Jared Kushner, as well as Julio Iglesias. I didn't know Julio lived there. Wow, he got himself a nice setup there in Miami.
Can I ask, Chris, when you're saying Zuckerberg, do you mean Mark Zuckerberg?
Yes, Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh, okay, well, you were saying Jeff, so I was kind of feeling confused.
Oh, did I say Jeff? I
think you're confused with Bezos. Yeah,
I mixed Jeff Bezos with Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah, and of course his name is Zuckerberg, but I call him.
You've melded them together. That's the new AI version of them.
Well, they're neighbors. How can I tell them apart? They're both hideous looking. They look the same from a distance. Yeah. So people like Zuckerberg plan 3 moves ahead. The billionaire tax chatter has a lot of Palo Alto owners doing real math. If you're staring at a potential 5% hit tied to net worth, Florida becomes a business decision. And Indian Creek is the clearest signal you're serious because it's built for privacy and control, says Troy Dean, home CEO. Yep. Troy Ippolito. So, yeah. Anyway, South Florida is becoming the place. 5% of your assets, not income. Folks, it's not income tax. This is a asset tax. So if you have property that the state of California says is worth $1 million, you got to pay them $50,000. If you don't have the cash, what are you supposed to do? And for people in California, $1 million home is not exactly a wealthy, highfalutin sort of thing.
No,
I mean, that could be a retiree who bought a house for $78,000 in 1968 and lives off a pension of $35,000 or $40,000 a year. They could have an asset worth $1 million. Now they have to pay. But I know what they're saying. It's only for billionaires. Today, it's for billionaires.
Right.
Next year, it's for millionaires. And then 3 years from now, it's for everybody.
Yeah, you say it's for billionaires, you get the millionaires and everybody else to go along with it, and they vote for it. Next thing you know, it's the millionaires. It's like, well, everybody who's a 100,000-aire or whatever, they're like, yeah, let's vote for that. Relieve the burden. And then next thing you know, you're making 6 figures. You're on the hook at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, but John, how does anybody in their right mind think it's acceptable to charge someone a tax to fund care and housing for criminal alien invaders who violate your country, enter your neighborhoods, degrade the social cohesion, upset the racial and ethnic balance of your neighborhoods, and impose alien languages on you, and then you have to pay for it based on what the state says your assets are valued at? I mean, how can people be so stupid to even accept this thing?
You're right, and the issue is, Chris, is what we're seeing here is the erosion of rights combined with the lifting of taxation or socialism, because this is what socialism amounts to, doesn't it? Let's tax this people because they're supposedly have more, even though they worked really hard for it and got education so they could have it. So we can fund these people to exist here that legally can't even be here. But hey, you know what? We're going to skirt the law anyway, because this is what socialists do. They pay no mind to the law. You're talking about the United States Constitution and it being adhered to, or that if anybody in Congress actually understands the Constitution or civics. I've been down there in DC and felt like I've gotten eye rolls when you bring up your constitutional rights, as if they don't even care.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I've been down there many times, and you get like maybe not even the eye roll, but it's like you're bringing that up again. That document,
they hate it when you do that.
That impediment to whatever I want to do. Yeah, I've seen that before, even from a lot of Republicans too.
But this is what happens. We're seeing socialism ebb into this country one way or the other.
Sure.
This country's going to rot away because of what they're doing in California. And the problem is California has a lot of influence what happens in the rest of the country. And you see in places like New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, other places in the country say, hey, they're doing it. Let's do it too.
Well, the bottom line here is that you guys are correct. These are people who quote the Constitution and amendments, and they quote legal cases that they don't understand. For instance, Roe versus Wade was unconstitutional from the day that the Berger Court imposed on America. The federal government has no say whatsoever in abortion, the termination of life, unless it's for a criminal act, and then they can execute you. But they have no say in that whatsoever. giving people, the private citizens, the right to murder a child in the womb? They have no say in that. And for 50 years plus, over 52 million Americans were killed in the womb because they allowed that. It was unconstitutional from the outset, and a activist Supreme Court made it the law of the land, so to speak, with an unconstitutional thing. Now, the good news is that we can correct the course. For instance, Plessy versus Ferguson, 1898, a case involving Louisiana, determined that separate but equal accommodations were constitutional. But of course they're not. The Equal Protection Clause, the 14th Amendment, explicitly prohibits that sort of garbage. You have to be treated equally. You're not treated equally if you're forced to sit in the front or back of the bus, or you cannot commingle with other Americans. And that's what Plessy versus Ferguson allowed, a Supreme Court decision, and frankly, a racist decision. And that's why it prevailed. It was reversed by Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas in 1954 during, I remind you, a Republican administration under Eisenhower. We finally ended separate but equal segregation, and that's when it all started to fall apart. The civil rights movement, with which the Democrats like to claim credit, and the Reverend Jesse Jackson, who was a nobody, likes to claim credit. He was just a little pup there with the milk dripping from the back of his ears in the day of civil rights movement. That was possible because Brown versus the Board of Education and the U.S. Army going to Little Rock, Arkansas to protect little black schoolgirls when they went to school against racists who meant to intimidate and threaten them outside. Democrat racists, mind you. We should point that out, John. Democrats, which is where you find most of these bigots and racists in that party.
Yeah.
I left John stunned.
No, I'm sitting there thinking, you brought up Jackson. All I can think is the term grief merchant.
Grievance
we
merchant.
were talking about that last week, a week before, we were talking about just that very thing. These guys were capitalizing off other people's pain. They weren't doing anything to fix anything. They weren't offering any solutions. They just run around,
Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and a lot of the younger folks, they were hung around MLK. They saw what they were doing. They decided to go a little bit different direction and become merchants of grief and try to go after people. You're a racist if you don't do this and this. Oh, here's the payoff. Okay, you're not a racist anymore. They go away. And they became they put together a good grift using race, and they did it for decades, and they're still doing it.
They learned from the Democrat Party, didn't they?
Right, for sure. And you think about it, whenever they cite MLK, it's like MLK is talking about peaceful protest, talking about people being as one, working together. And here they are; they want to separate people for profit, which is anything but what MLK was talking about.
Exactly. Oh yeah, he things that they did after he died. I mean,
oh for sure,
he never stood for any of that. In fact, there was theories that his own people killed him because he was preventing these violent acts from happening. But I don't know if I get into all that too much.
Yeah, I mean, there's always conspiracy for anything, right?
Yeah, there is. People come up with ideas in their head, and you just don't. It just muddies the waters. That's all it does.
Yep, indeed, it does muddy the water. So we're going to have to thank Tom Fitton. He's at it again. The gentleman from West Nyack, New York. He has actually exposed more bigotry and racism in this country. Surprise, surprise. But Judicial Watch is suing the city of Evanston, Illinois, the racist city of Evanston, Illinois, which has given out $6,350,000 of taxpayer funds, 254 people based on their race, in clear violation of the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution. This is reparations to Black residents of Evanston. And this is disgraceful. Ahead of a hearing in September of 2025, Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton, whose organization filed the suit of the use of race, said to date, Evanston had awarded, this is as of September, just past September, 6,350,254 individuals based on race. The city must be stopped before it spends even more money in this clearly discriminatory and unconstitutional reparations program. Now, responding to the city's motion to dismiss the suit, alleging the violation of the Equal Protection Clause, Judicial Watch said the program's use of race-based eligibility requirement is presumptively unconstitutional, and remedying societal discrimination is not a compelling government interest. Both of those are true statements. Nor has remedying societal discrimination from as many as 105 years ago or remedying intergenerational discrimination ever been recognized as a compelling government interest. Among the program's other fatal flaws is that it uses race as a proxy for discrimination without requiring proof of discrimination. Exactly right. There, you need no proof. You just have to have dark skin and you get the money. This is racism, no different than affirmative action. Affirmative action was exactly that, racism, giving someone advantage based on a perceived wrong. And these are people who weren't even wronged at all. They just happen to be around at the right time to profit from it.
The problem with things like affirmative action, and the reason why I disliked it, is if you tell somebody because of their skin color they only got to score 70 or even have a failing mark, but they get the job over the guy who's required to get a 96 because of his skin color. And so you make it easier entrance for somebody based on their skin color. Therefore, you don't make it challenging. They don't better themselves. They don't have to.
But we're all weaker as a consequence. Let me give you an example. There's perfectly qualified Black and other ethnicity candidates for things, but when you use race as a basis, like the Michigan Law School or a medical school, University of Chicago, you use that if you use that as a criteria and you give advantage for that, you allow people potentially who are academically unprepared for the rigors of medical school or for law school to get a slot in a school to the detriment of the other applicant, which is morally indefensible. But beyond that, you oftentimes have people who are not capable of completing the program, and then you waste the slot. So instead of getting a trained lawyer or doctor, you get a washout, and you get that person never got an opportunity. It's morally bankrupt. You do not fix the wrongs of the past by perpetuating them in the present. It's just stupid. It's always been stupid. It's racist, and I will fight against this bigotry and hatred forever because it's wrong. If you want to fix things, then you go to the root causes. If, for instance, you have low academic scores amongst Black Americans who want to go to these programs, then you look and investigate, why are you getting low scores? Could it be single parent families? Could it be culture? Or could it simply be funding? Some schools are not funded as well, and therefore students don't have as good an opportunity to become outstanding performers. But the bottom line is simply saying that you get to go because you're Black or brown, and I don't get to go because I'm white, is racism, and it's unconstitutional. And we had it for decades in this country. Finally dismantle this crap. It's about time, John.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's do away with it. We need to raise the waters, not lower them. I guess, or raise the bar, not lower it.
Of course, absolutely. That's what we have to do. All right, so let me turn attention here, Todd, to this story that the police claim to have nabbed an ICE background checker in a prostitution sting. The Department of Homeland Security denied today that individual arrested during a prostitution sting in Bloomington, Minnesota, worked as a background checker for ICE. Brashad Johnson, 36, is one of 30 people arrested during Bloomington Police Department's Operation Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places. Oh, isn't that clever? Bloomington Police Department Booker Hodges said in a press conference on Tuesday, Hodges called the arrest the most disturbing the department has made. He's a backgrounder for ICE, Homeland Security, and federal agencies.
Watch out.
So when you're getting your security clearance, this is one of the guys that does your backgrounds. Okay, that's interesting. But of course, ICE has denied that. And let me talk to you about this story run in People magazine, not exactly the source of hard-hitting news, but Minnesota man who did background checks for ICE gets arrested in prostitution sting. Most disturbing arrest. At the time of his arrest, Johnson was in possession of a U.S. Department of Defense ID card, which said he's a contractor authorized to conduct federal background investigation, according to Bloomington Police. But Todd, you've seen these before, I'm sure. Here is a U.S. Department of
Common
Defense
access
ID card.
card. Yeah,
Common access card that says contractor on it right there. There is no indication on this card anywhere that says anything about what you do for the government. These are just lies, and they think people are stupid. But I mean, tens of thousands of people have these cards. Tens of thousands of people do this task for the U.S. military, for the U.S. government. How do they think they get away with such blatant lies? So if that's how obvious the lie is, then how much the story could possibly be true? None of it, in my view. So I'm going to believe Homeland Security over this Bloomington Police Department, which has a clear political agenda. What do you say, John?
Well, I hate to say it, but people commonly believe these lies because they don't do their own research. It's easier just to believe and go along with it than it is to look things up. And I have to tell you, I do all the time. Somebody says something or I see something on social media. I'm like, okay, let's verify. I got to verify. I can't take somebody's word for it because I don't know it. If somebody told it to me, I got to know it. Otherwise, I can't elaborate on it. And so, yeah, you've got to verify what's being said to you. If you don't verify it, then you're just gullible.
100%. And folks, you're listening to Common Sense Conservatives right here on WSMN out of Nashua, New Hampshire. Comes your way every Wednesday evening, whether it's New Year's, Christmas, or whatever's going on. Every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for 2 hours with my co-host, John Grosvenor, in the studio there in Nashua, New Hampshire, and retired Sergeant First Class Todd McKinley. Between Todd and myself, we've got well over a half a century of active duty military service in defense of our Constitution. And I'm Chris Wyatt in Central Pennsylvania. So we'd like to appreciate you and thank you for listening in on the radio, also following us on social media. WSMN every Wednesday night, 95.3 on your FM dial and 15.9 on the AM dial. Why am I getting reverb? I keep getting reverb.
I thought maybe Todd was doing something. I saw him moving around. Todd, did you do anything that may have caused that? I don't know.
What are you getting now? What are you getting?
It's good getting now. Reverb. There was some feedback when.
Sorry. I might have been moving my computer or something. Sorry.
Okay, that's right. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, so 95.3 on your FM dial, 1590 on your AM dial every Wednesday night. And you can find us on Todd's favorite phrase, the interwebs. You can find us out there on YouTube channel, Truckers Independent Broadcasting Network. And also, I think we're on Billy Painter's network. Are we not there, John?
ALW, I believe, is Billy's. He puts us
Yeah.
on Sundays, so we get a repeat or a replay on Sundays.
Yeah, so if you miss it on Wednesday, you can catch the program every Sunday on his network there, and also on my channel. So thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate it. Well, guys, this stuff is just utter nonsense. They're just making these bogus claims, and it's fascinating. So I don't know why they got the impression this guy's worked in the Department of Defense, and if he does work Department of Defense, claiming his ID card. Here it is again. At the time of his arrest, Johnson was in possession of a U.S. Department of Defense ID card that indicated he was a contractor who was authorized to conduct federal background investigations. Says Damian Bitney, Bloomington's Deputy Chief of Police. We confirm this with the federal government. Well, you're a liar, Damian Bitney. You're a liar. You're a liar. Your pants on fire. There is no such thing as an ID card that identifies what you do for the federal government. Now, if you're in the military, it says what service you're affiliated, and here it says agency, Army, and has an Army background because I'm a contractor for the Army. But I could just easily be a contractor for the Navy. And there's nothing on this card that indicates anything whatsoever about what I do for the Army. Poppycock, pure nonsense. I mean, it's ridiculous. Is it not? Is it not, Todd?
Absolutely. It'd be like saying, oh, it says on his ID card that he has a top secret clearance with SCI background, all this stuff. Like, no, it does not say any of that. Just gives you access to the base. Other ID cards give you access to other places. Let's leave it at that.
Well, Todd, I will admit that my card does say my favorite color is purple. It is on there.
Oh, everything. In my whole bio is on there.
Oh my goodness.
Does it list your gender preferences too?
It lists my pronouns. My pronouns are go away. Oh my goodness. Anyway, hey guys, I was a couple things I want to bring up. Someone in the chat mentioned this. A motorist evaded ICE and did exactly what I said with that Rebecca Good. Was that her name? Rebecca Good, the one.
Oh, Renee Good.
Renee Good, thank you. Renee Good, I said exactly the reason why she got shot. She presented a clear and present danger not only to the law enforcement officer, but to any pedestrian or motorist on the street because she was going to drive away from that scene, fleeing it, and drive recklessly. We can see that based on how she gunned to try to run down an agent. And that's exactly what's happened here. Now, a vehicle, the driver trying to evade ICE, slammed into a crowd of people, apparently. Was this in Minneapolis? I think it just happened a short while ago. Pretty crazy stuff. St. Paul. It was in St. Paul. So that's exactly what I said there, Todd. That's why law enforcement has to take this seriously. And if someone presents a clear and present danger, then they need to be neutralized. It sounds like these people weren't neutralized, and now people are harmed.
Right. He crashed it into people. I know they were were they on a high-speed chase? That's what I gathered. I saw a glimpse of it. I didn't get to read a whole article on it, but I saw something about they were in pursuit.
Well, reports are now that at apparently the end of the pursuit, at least during the pursuit, they ran into a crowd of individuals.
Oh, wow. That's bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's
intended or not, right?
A car is a deadly weapon. It's not just a gun that can be used to kill people. Cars can be used. Hammers can be used. Hatchets can be used. A stare from me could be deadly.
Right. A stare. Chris, on the second rung of a ladder.
There you go. So, yeah, my eyes have been registered. My facial expressions is a deadly weapon to the Federal Bureau of Incompetence. Anyway, yikes. And so I just wanted to add this too. I was in Texas for the past several days between shows.
Right.
And yesterday I went to Dealey Plaza, where John Fitzgerald Kennedy was assassinated on November 22nd, 1963, before any of us were born. And I went there and did a live broadcast from there, which was fascinating. I have to say this. I was at Dealey Plaza 3 years ago, and it must have been on Sunday because there was nobody there. I mean, it was so quiet and peaceful. But yesterday, it was like I was at Grand Central Station, cars and tourists and everything. The only thing that wasn't happening is that darn museum was closed again. When I was there last time, they were closed today. I was there. This time I went there closed on Monday and Tuesday. I'm never going to see that museum in Dallas. I wanted to go inside and buy some stuff, but they're closed. The gift shop not even open. Yeah. So it was a fascinating thing there, Todd, to be at the site once again of where President Kennedy was assassinated and recount the story about what happened. And I was inspired by my neighbor, who's nearly 90 years of age, who when Kennedy was shot, rushed out and bought the exact same rifle, which was a surplus Italian rifle that the Italian forces used during World War II, which was somewhat unreliable and it was not particularly helpful. But when the war was over and disarmament happened, the U.S. government confiscated thousands of these rifles, and companies bought them and for nickels on the dollar and shipped them back to the U.S. and sold them. But he has exact same model that was supposedly used by Lee Harvey Oswald and he later bought a sight just like the sight that was on there. But he paid a lot. He paid a lot for the sight, but bought the rifle for a song back in 1963, early 64. And I did an interview of him last year, which is probably unsafe for YouTube because it shows a gun. But so I was inspired to go there once again by my neighbor Gary Rehart, and it was a fascinating experience. Have you ever had the chance to go to Dealey Plaza there, Todd?
Oh, I have actually, and actually, I was there doing an advance for a vice president, and he landed at the same airport, mind you, the other side of the tarmac, and I was able to go. I went to the X. They have the X on the ground. Of course, I was on the sidewalk, saw that, and of course, got to go to the museum. It's kind of cool. Got a lot of videos, a lot of history in there, and of course, went over to the little sniper's nest area. Of course, they have it blocked off with some plexiglass, so you can't get right up to it and mess up the site. But they have a whole thing set up so it's like the sniper's nest, like on that very day.
Well, that's it. Just rub it in, Todd. You went to the museum store. I didn't go. Twice I've been there trying to do that last 3 years and not been able to pull it off successfully. Maybe next time I'll look at their schedule before I plan my trip out.
But it's funny is whenever you're there when it's full, you could walk down all these merchants that are there with every book under the sun. It's like everybody's opinion or conspiracy is being touted out there. It's like, hey, if you don't like this conspiracy, here's another one. I got this one. I got this one. It's like, who didn't kill Kennedy at this point? You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know about conspiracies, but I can say that I was on the grassy knoll.
That is kind of cool, though, to be able to say you were there.
Yeah, and the X, as far as the X, that's what that X is for. I was wondering what that X was for. No, just kidding.
Yeah,
it's a fascinating thing to do, and it's to go there. And then you look at the angle. You look at the 6'4", where the tree is actually grown up high enough now that it obscures the window from a certain position. That obviously wasn't that high in 63. And you look at that, and that's a heck of a shot. I mean, from an angle.
And also that traffic light that hangs out, it was a different light back then, a different pole. And whenever they changed it out, they said it looked like the pole had been struck by something very hard, maybe a bullet. And I don't know if that's true or not, but it's interesting to think that maybe that first shot was ricocheted off of that.
I don't know, but the bottom line here is that if you look at that, now I've not gone up into the book repository because every time I go, it's closed, but looking at it from the ground level, it's a heck of a shot, particularly with an unreliable Italian rifle. That was pretty much one of the reasons why the Italians were such ineffective forces during the Second World War, is because this particular rifle, they had lots of these crappy rifles, but it is a fascinating situation. John, have you ever had a chance to go to Dealey Plaza or Dallas?
I have not, but it would be interesting to get to go there. Providing things are open, like you said. It would be disappointing to get all the way over there on a rare occasion and find everything shut down.
Yeah, it sucked, man.
I was reminded my first time I was there. The second time I was there was the story I just told you. The first time I was there, I was stationed at Fort Hood, and a buddy of mine was from Dallas, so we were up there just kind of goofing around. I was like, "Hey, I've never been to Dealey Plaza." He's like, "Yeah, I'll take you over there, and then we'll head over to this other place." And it was real quick, middle of the night. And there was a lady and a man who just pulled up really quick. And I guess they were on a date. She gets out, looks around. You see her go behind the bush. And the next thing as I'm looking around, I'm like, oh, she's over there peeing behind a bush at Dealey Plaza. I'm like, so I saw that, plain as day. And the first time ever there. I just thought I'd share that.
Well, that's something I'm glad I missed. But what I did miss,
you gotta go.
A full moon peeing.
What I did miss, and next time I'll know better, is I'll park down the street. But they charge $13 to park there. Last time I parked there, it was open because there was nothing there that day, so the parking was free. I paid $13 to park there, even though the museum was closed. What a bunch of shysters! But it was important. I was doing a live broadcast for my viewers and just to show them that story. But this is a place of historical significance, whether you like it or not. I saw that, I don't know if it's a Netflix series, but it's on Netflix, 11/22.
I saw it, yeah.
63. That series with James Franco with the alternative history and what would have happened. And I kind of predict. Yeah, what's that?
His Dave Franco, his brother.
Huh?
Anyway, not here nor there. Sorry, he was Dave
he's saying James Franco's brother is the one that does that, not James Franco.
Yeah,
that wasn't James Franco.
No, it wasn't James. It was Dave. Yeah, his younger brother. Looks almost like him, doesn't it?
Are you teasing me?
But good movie though. I know what you're saying. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to look that up now. I thought it was James Franco. I'll be darned. Anyway, but whoever it was, the acting was superb. But the whole premise of it, I kind of figured out early on. I knew that in the end, that if he had successfully stopped the assassination from happening as he traveled back in time, that no one knows what the consequences would have been. I mean, look, if Kennedy had survived, we might have wound up in a nuclear conflict with the Soviets at some point because he was brash and irresponsible. He nearly had one over the Cuban Missile Crisis. I mean, he committed an act of war, not an embargo, but a blockade of Cuba. That's an act of war.
Right.
Blockade is an act of war, guys. I mean, John, when you actively blockade a country, you're committing an act of war. I mean, that's after all what the North did against the states in rebellion. They blockaded the southern ports. That's an act of war, and that's what we did to Cuba. And embargo is one thing.
And they come down on Trump because he went into Venezuela.
Oh, geez, yeah, it's uninformed people. Yeah, it was kidnapping. Notice how that narrative has died away because it was bogus and people didn't buy it. It didn't resonate because it's a lie.
Kidnapping. I'm sorry. We're not ransoming him back.
He was extradited.
Right.
Extradited.
Yeah,
he's not. We're not going to ransom him back to he can go back and be president at some point. That would be kidnapping. He's going to prison.
He wasn't president in the first place. He stole the election.
No, I know that, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we got someone else in the chat saying that the vehicle pursued by ICE crashes in St. Paul into large crowd. Oh, the crowd gathered. Okay, maybe he didn't hit the crowd. I'll take a look at that on the break. We'll see what an update on that is. Are you guys watching the Olympics at all?
No.
I saw a few of the downhill skiing stuff because I think it's so interesting to go that fast downhill and jump. That's wild. And I saw the other day, a guy going uphill skiing, going at about a 6-minute mile pace going uphill on skis. I'm like, that is unbelievable.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah,
but I'll tell you,
there was a speed trap. I guess they were timing it. They said between here and here, he was going at 6 miles an 1 hour. I'm like, on skis uphill. That's crazy. That's fast.
Yep. Someone's asking in the chat if it's an act of war against Venezuela. No, because we're not blockading shipping from Venezuela. We're blockading sanctioned oil tankers, which have international sanctions directed against them. They're committing crimes, and we're blockading them. We're not blockaded other ships coming out of Venezuela, so it's not an act of war.
That's how that one probably slipped through. They probably didn't realize it was the one that was sanctioned. They had to chase it down into the North Atlantic. Is that how that got through there?
I'm not sure. Maybe there's a degree of incompetence between U.S. Navy and the Coast Guard. I'm not sure, but that thing got out of the Caribbean, went all the way up to Europe across North Atlantic, and came back, and then they caught on the way back near Iceland, of all places. Yeah, so no, that's these are ships in international waters. And blockade would be the U.S. shutting down all shipping by blocking the port. That's not the case. Ships come in and out of Venezuela, but illicit oil tankers, ghost fleets are being interdicted. That's a very big difference. So very big difference. We are performing international law enforcement function, and that's what's happening there. Absolutely. So the Olympics, guys. Let's talk a little bit about that. Lindsey Vonn. She gave it everything. She tore an MCL, I guess, in her left knee when she shouldn't have been skiing in that ridiculous snowstorm when 6 skiers wiped out, and then she tore her MCL on the left knee. And of course, the right knee was surgically repaired and has titanium in it, and she was skiing. The funny thing is the amazing thing is that with that artificial knee, she was the top-ranked skier in this season before the Olympics. She goes into it, then has that incident in Switzerland 9 days before her ski run. She does the run. I watched it live, and I was heartbroken. It was wild to see the wipeout. She broke her leg. She's had 3 operations on the leg already, but at 41, she was the top contender for the gold medal in that competition, and she wiped out. It's just a really tragic way to see it. Look, I'm not necessarily a fan of Lindsey Vonn. She's opened her mouth in the past and talks in politics, but you gotta respect that grit and determination. And she went all out, Todd. She got her arm caught in the gate and it spun around, pinwheeled around in midair. She came down and she snapped that left leg. Ooh, that's not the one that had a bad knee. So pretty scary stuff there. I mean, did you see any of this, Todd? Are you watching Olympics?
No, I didn't see it, but I heard about it. I heard that she had the option to have an alternate take her place, and then she didn't want to allow the alternate to step in. I don't know. Maybe she thought she could do it. I don't know, but if you really knew you couldn't, she should give somebody else a chance. That's my thought.
Well, the bottom line with this, John, is that it wasn't an injury. It wasn't the MCL that caused this. It wasn't her surgically repaired knee. It was the fact that her arm got caught in the gate, and then she lost her balance and spun around at that high speed. So people can argue this back and forth, John, but the bottom line is that the injuries are not the reason she wiped out. She wiped out because she pushed the limits and got her arm caught in the gate. What do you think, John?
Well, I think that's awful. I think, it's terrible that happened to her. It's you hate to hear somebody who's an athlete, especially at that particular point in their life when this is like the crowning moment. Because I don't think she's probably at that age. I don't know if she's going to return or not. And I'm pretty sure she's not now.
So it's probably not at 41. Yeah. It's every 4 years. These athletes are in amazing shape. I mean, she had been out of competitive skiing for 6 years.
and had that knee repaired, and then made a decision to make the comeback. And she ran race after race after race this year, and she was the top of the standings and was the top contender for that particular downhill event. And then, so I don't see her coming back because she's had 3 operations on that left leg. I mean, how badly was that thing fractured or broken that they've had to have 3 operations in just a matter of days? I mean, that must be very serious. But unfortunately for Lindsey Vonn, what people remember from this run is she was in agony. She was howling and screaming in pain when they finally airlifted her out of there. It was pretty sad to see. But outside that, it's been an interesting Olympics. I don't know if you guys saw this. U.S. is surging in the medal count now. We're up to, I think, 13 medals. And just 2 days ago, we had just 2 medals. We had 2 gold medals. Now we've got, we're second in the rankings now with gold medals and with total medal count. And that will continue to climb. Got a gold in the men's 1,000 meter. Stoltz was incredible. He set an Olympic record in that race, and that's his first race of 4. Maybe visions of Eric Heiden back in 1980 Lake Placid when he won 5 gold medals. He became a surgeon or a physician, 68 years old now, Eric Heiden. He's actually in Italy watching the Olympics, sitting next to Snoop Dogg. I don't know what Snoop Dogg is doing there, but pretty crazy. But the events today in the Olympics, Finland was upset by Slovakia in ice hockey, men's ice hockey. There was a 4-1 result. I was gobsmacked. Finland has a very good team. I was pulling for them, and they just were atrocious. They were just beaten in every way. There was more hunger from the Slovakians. Congratulations to them. And we'll see what happens there. But the U.S. men play their first game tomorrow against Latvia. I think it's 3 o'clock or 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. So I'll be watching that game, looking very much forward to it. I'm a huge fan of the Winter Olympics, and I have been, Todd, ever since I fell in love with Dorothy Hamill in 1976 in Innsbruck when she skied.
All right. Yeah, I used to like the Winter Olympics as a kid, because you see sports that you normally don't see, especially being from Tennessee, things you don't see year round. It's like, oh my goodness, look at this. They can do that on little bitty thin pieces of steel. I mean, on ice. Come on now. Who would imagine? And it's amazing to watch those people do what they can do. Not only figure skating, but hockey and all the different things that they can do. Downhill skiing, the slalom, the ski jumps. I mean, just come on. You don't see that here in the East Coast of the U.S. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well, listen, the 76 Olympics were very exciting for me. That's the first ones I really remember of any, I mean, obviously I was alive for some Olympics before that, but the 76 Olympics were pretty amazing for me. Dorothy Hamill is amazing. The Venzels, Hani Wenzel and her brother for skiing for Liechtenstein, winning medals. And then I remember a sport that U.S. never wins anything, and that was cross country skiing in 76 in Innsbruck, the 30-kilometer race. Bill Koch got himself a silver medal. It just shocked the world. It's crazy. He had asthma, and he had a lot of pressure from media, and he wound up winning a silver medal in that. Absolutely amazing. He's 70 years old now, but he won that silver medal in 1976 in Innsbruck, and that was one of those things I'll never forget. I think probably a lot of people don't remember who Bill Koch is, but I'll never forget, because those sort of things. I never became an Olympian. I never competed in sports, but they inspired me to achieve in life, is watching those Olympians. And again, I'm still in love with Dorothy Hamill all these years later. She's an amazing woman. Unfortunately for her, her ice capades failed, but that's just the way things go.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. You're not going to be a success and everything, but, we remember good stuff. And of course, she was a positive role model. So, no issue with her.
But I do have to give you one news update there, John. I know you're dying to know this, but Team LGBTQ plus LMNOZ led the USA in medals just 2 days ago with 3 gold medals for the LGBT community and just 2 for America. So the artificial, fabricated, non-existent Team LGBT was leading the U.S. in medal count 2 days ago. Did you know that, John?
No, I didn't know there was a Team LGBTQ MNOZ.
Well, there isn't, but the gay media wants us to tell us that there's 45 openly gay and bisexual members of that community who are competing in the Olympics. That they were leading they were leading the U.S. by 1 gold medal.
Now, mind you, before that report, there was only 20, but after the report, there's 45 now, just because they let everybody out of the bag, right? They opened the closet for these people. So
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that, but my point of sarcasm is
45. Wait a minute, I thought it was 20. No, it's 45.
No such thing as Team LGBT. If you want to compete as such, then. But there's no such thing. It's just
was there by any chance like people that are gay that just come out and said, well, I'm gay and I won a gold medal, and they were just counting that way, or are they just fabricating something up?
No. These are athletes who are openly gay before the Olympics, like the U.S. skier who won a medal, and then the Swiss skier who won a downhill. Yep.
Let's be clear.
Okay,
In the Winter
so
Olympics,
they're doing
there've
their
been
own medal
openly-
count based on their.
In the Winter
their-
Olympics, there have been gay people for a long time. Let's be clear.
Sure, of
Well,
course.
there have been gay people in
Summer
every Olympics.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Listen,
true, that's
there
true.
was always gay people in the military too. It's just
for sure.
What?
Absolutely.
What?
But this idea we have to celebrate every little instance of first. It's like we're going to run out. Come on.
it's
Well,
silliness. Yeah.
It is indeed. And on that note, we're coming up on the top of the hour here shortly. In the next hour, we'll have more for you, a discussion about politics in the USA. And that'll do it for this hour. Stick with us for the next hour of the Common Sense Goes right here on WSMN.
WSMN 1590, WSMN 95.3 FM Nashua. Listen, watch, and stream at wsmn.live.
USA Radio News, I'm Anthony Lucero. Authorities are still searching for 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today's Show host Savannah Guthrie, after her Tucson home yielded evidence of a possible abduction. The FBI released surveillance images of a masked person near her door. A man was detained south of Tucson and questioned, but later released without charges as the investigation continues. A black glove has also been recovered from the scene. Authorities say a troubled 18-year-old transgender teen killed 8 people in Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia yesterday before taking his own life. Dwayne McDonald of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
We have a history of police attendance at the family residence. Some of those calls were related to mental health issues.
Victims included 5 students, a teacher, his mother, a sibling, and at least 24 others were injured. Drug maker Moderna says the FDA is refusing to review its application for a seasonal flu vaccine.
The company says it got a letter saying the application was denied because its trial testing for the mRNA-based vaccine doesn't reflect the best available standard of care. Moderna says trial results showed the vaccine was 26% more effective than a standard flu shot already approved by the FDA. Moderna also said the agency didn't cite any particular safety concerns, and the company wants a meeting to clarify the path forward. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
A group of Buddhist monks have completed a 2,300-mile peace walk from Texas to Washington.
The monks were greeted by thousands of people as they entered the city yesterday morning. They made their way to American University's Bender Arena, where they were greeted by another large crowd. Faith leaders welcomed the monks at the National Cathedral, embracing the message of peace and healing promoted by the group. I'm Monica Nelson.
At the closing bell, the Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 66 points. The S&P 500 dropped less than a point, and the Nasdaq fell 36 points. I'm Sarah Lee Kessler.
From America's News Network, USA Radio News.
Maybe this is you too. There's enormous frustration right now with healthcare costs. It is amazing. Healthcare costs for families in the last 20 years have almost tripled, and it just keeps getting worse. All this to say, this is why MediShare is so in demand right now. People are looking for alternatives, and MediShare is proven. You can save thousands of dollars a year and actually like it more. Over 1 million Americans are now part of healthcare sharing, and MediShare is the gold standard. It's trusted. It works. It's been helping people save money and have peace of mind now for 30 plus years. It's not some big impersonal thing either. It's a community of people like you helping each other. So yeah, if you're frustrated too, here's your chance to make a refreshing change. You'll notice the difference as soon as you call. They're easy to talk to. You can get a price within 2 minutes. Here is the number. Call 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
Tired of wondering where your money really goes? At Mammoth Nation, we built what was missing. The America First Marketplace. Every brand we feature is 100% American owned and operated. Rigorously vetted for their values and committed to supporting our Constitution, law enforcement, and the American dream. When you shop with us, your dollar stays in the neighborhood, supporting families, veterans, and charities like Folds of Honor. No more sending your hard-earned money overseas or the companies that don't respect you here. Your dollar reflects your values. Your dollar, your values. Your America. Join Mammoth Nation today and be part of building a patriot economy by going to truckersunitedforfreedom.com affiliate page and hit that link. American built, America strong. Mammoth Nation.
Hi, Nashua. I'm Perry Cataldo from Choice Benefit Services, your local insurance agent that has dedicated himself to all the Medicare plans in New Hampshire. Whether you're just turning 65, new to Medicare, or already have a plan, I'll explain all your Medicare options and extra benefits that you hear so much about. I ensure you're getting all you're entitled to and all that you deserve. Nashua, don't get fooled again this year. Call Perry Cataldo at 603-461-5550. That's 603-461-5550. Or visit me online at cbsnh.com. That's cbsnh.com. I look forward to hearing from you. And remember, health is wealth.
Most social platforms throttle your reach, track your behavior, and decide what you're allowed to see. Audax does none of that. Here, you control the algorithm. Your posts go where you send them, without shadow bans, filters, or hidden limits. Audax doesn't spy on your private life. No one listens to your calls. No one monitors your searches. And because we don't take money from corporate advertisers, no one is manipulating what you see or how you use the platform. Audax is built for patriots who want a place to organize, speak freely, and push back against the issues facing America without interference. Freedom isn't free, but it's worth every penny. Join the Rise for Liberty project at audax1.com and take back your voice.
Continuing the legacy started in 1904, Roger Pellerin of Gate City Monument Incorporated continues to provide the same high-quality monument, custom headstone, and stoneworking craftsmanship today that they built their reputation on over 100 years ago, servicing Nashua, New Hampshire, as well as nearby areas in Massachusetts, such as Lowell, Billerica, Chelmsford, and beyond. From creating custom monuments to memorialize, to landscaping and granite work or restorative services, each job is done to your satisfaction and is backed by decades of experience and integrity. If you're thinking about stonework, think Roger Pellerin of Gate City Monument. Visit online at gatecitymonument.com. Stop by and meet Roger at 321 West Hollis Street in Nashua, or call 603-883-7.
All righty, folks. Do we lose the end of Gates?
141. That's 603. 8 of distinction for people who care.
There we go.
Threw me off there. I thought we lost Gate City Monuments ad there.
Yeah, everything dropped. Yeah.
That was kind of weird. I wonder if there's something wrong with the tape on that.
It played through on my end. I don't know what's going on.
Interesting. All right. Well, it must just be our end. We just didn't get it.
Well,
Hopefully it went out over the air. All right. So I took a look at that St. Paul crash, and there were no pedestrians. A crowd just gathered after the incident. But the St. Paul mayor and the leftists are crying and decrying the criminal who fled from law enforcement and endangered public safety, crashed into a red sedan, apparently, and did serious damage to it. No life-threatening injuries, amazingly. But this is what happens when people flee from the police when you've been stopped and commit a criminal act. And they're defending the criminal. And they're saying that this is because ICE is in the town, still threatening, harassing people. Well, quit committing crimes, and then they won't be taken care of.
So he tried to outrun ICE with a Prius.
Prius. But
Well,
what
I
if
see-
it
I
was
see
the
a black
St.
Honda.
Paul? What if it was St. Paul police or Minneapolis police, or what if it was a state trooper from Minnesota trying to pull you over? Would they still be on the side of the criminal here?
Well, I suspect it would be because
they're liberals. Probably yes, they're liberals. I mean,
I
we're
don't
seeing that.
understand.
Are we seeing the left defending criminals?
Yeah.
Well, we see this here. We see Andrew Carey on Blue Sky, which nobody's on, saying a video of an ICE kidnapping victim under a sheet. ICE kidnapping victim. Spare me.
Yeah,
There's no
he-
kidnapping.
Supposedly,
This is
he
a
wanted the sheet to cover himself up. So
This
you
is
know.
a criminal who tried to
Yeah.
evade law enforcement and fled and endangered public safety. That's the bottom line here.
Yeah, there's some guys trying to make reports there to the media. Reading off Political, what do you think? You think you're going to find, right? And I think it was Political, and some guys making statements. Well, I just got out of my car, and if I was just a second later, I'd have got hit by that ICE car. This is nonsense. I don't think he was that close. I doubt he was being that dangerous. And they're trained. These officers do go through training for such circumstances. It was the guy who led the chase, the alien invader. He was the guy who was not trained. He was the guy who lost control of his vehicle and hit 2 other parked cars, and one of them which was occupied.
Well, to be fair, we don't know that he was an illegal. We don't even know who this was or if they committed a crime or not. But the point is that when the police stop you, you stop. You cooperate with law enforcement. You do not do this. And the fact that anybody would defend this and play these games, these people are, again, Ontario is calling. The Great White North is your home. Go to Canada and stay there like the cowards did during Vietnam.
I can tell you, Chris, statistics do show that most people that run from law enforcement officers are doing so because they committed a crime of some sort or another.
Right, or wanted somewhere. Yeah.
Well, I won't disagree. I'm just trying to be objective here and state that we don't have evidence of this. But no, you're 100% correct. That's why people flee. Why else would you flee the police unless you've done something untoward?
Yeah, I don't. In fact, I'll stand there and have a conversation all day long if they want. I don't mind.
Yeah, they try to flee you after they talk to you for a few minutes, right, John?
Yeah, right.
Like, all right, you're good. You're good. Get out of here. Just a warning.
I didn't know you were going to be so boring. I did never stop you. If I know you
just a warning. We don't want to talk to you at court, so we're not going to have you come to a court. Just a warning. I don't know.
Have you guys seen where we've got some local officials now, like in Maryland, saying, like the sheriff of Frederick County, Maryland, saying that if the governor signs a legislation which will prevent the state law enforcement from cooperating with federal authorities, that he will sue the governor, Wes Moore. And we also have authorities in New Jersey who are saying, sheriffs saying that we have a constitutional obligation to fulfill the law, and not cooperating with federal authorities prevents us from fulfilling our duty. And we don't care what Kathy Hochul says in New York. We are going to enforce the law and cooperate with federal authorities. So we have a mini, it's not insurrection, but it's certainly a rebellion against illicit state authority they're trying to impose, Todd, against local officials, and local officials are having nothing to do with it in many cases.
Right, absolutely, and they shouldn't. They should force the governor to try to remove them. Do your job if you're an elected sheriff. You're the chief law enforcement officer of your county, and stand up to the governor if they're telling you to violate the Constitution or anybody's constitutional rights. You have every right to do that under your authority, and if they remove you, that's on them. And then, of course, it's a bigger problem after that.
Absolutely, and I think, John, that this is an important thing that people need to pay attention to.
Sheriff Mack started the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association for this reason, because these things are happening in our country, and he encourages people, hey, get involved, find sheriffs that you can elect that will act on a constitutional basis or become constitutional sheriffs for this exact reason.
100%. All right, let's shift gears, guys, a little bit here. We got some time in this hour. I want to talk about the SAVE Act, which is it's a federal law that requires producing legitimate government identification to prove who you are in order to vote. Again, the Constitution says the time and manner of elections is up to the individual sovereign states. I'm not certain that this violates that, because it doesn't determine the time, it doesn't determine the manner, it just requires identification. But I'm sure it will be protested by the American Criminal Liberties Union and the Southern Poverty Law Center, amongst others, trying to proclaim that it's unfair to illegal aliens who, of course, aren't allowed to vote in the first place. And it will, of course, harm Black Americans. But 72% of Americans are in favor of voter identification, and that's across all parties. Right. Even Democrats are up around that figure. 72% of all Americans say that there should, majority of every ethnic group, it's like 76% of Black Americans are in favor of it, 78% of Hispanic Americans. It's insane that anybody would argue against this. So Todd, have you been following the SAVE Act? Because it just passed in the House, as I mentioned last hour, 218 to 213.
Yeah, narrowly. Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to go, if it's not against the Constitution, if it's constitutional, and you're simply saying, hey, you should have an ID to vote nationally, especially in federal elections where you're electing U.S. House members, Senate members, and the president every 4 years, absolutely, I don't have a problem with it.
Well, John, here, let me just run through what this bill says. A couple things. It says the bill require proof of citizenship to register to vote in federal elections. Doesn't say to vote in the election, it says to register. So right now, for instance, in Pennsylvania, unless you're new to the precinct that you're voting in, the only time you have to present ID is it's your first time voting, or if you're new to that precinct. Say I move from this county to another county or another part and go to a different station to vote, I have to produce ID the first time, but that's it. As long as I voted in the last 10 years and never have produced ID again. I think that's ridiculous. I think you should produce an ID every single time that you vote. But these are the things, John, that the act would require. A real ID compliant that shows citizenship. I'm not really sure what real ID shows citizenship. I don't have anything that shows citizenship other than my passport, which says where I was born, but it doesn't. In order to have a passport, that's proof that you're a citizen. So I'm not really sure what that means. A passport, okay. But there's other real IDs like military ID card. I have a military ID card. I have a military one right here, and it says with proof of citizenship, or U.S. birth. But mine doesn't have proof of U.S. birth. It doesn't state anything. No military ID card says where you were born. So I don't understand that requirement. It makes no sense. I understand why they would have it, because we have lots of foreign nationals who serve in the military and not U.S. citizens.
Right.
But your military ID card doesn't prove your birth. So I don't understand that. And a government issued photo ID showing U.S. birth or other government issued ID with birth certificate, no one has that. I don't understand that. So this is a little confusing as to what it says, but I think that the left is lying to us about this. That one of the things they're complaining about, the Brennan Center estimates more than 21 million Americans lack ready access to these documents. Half Americans don't have a passport, and millions lack access to a paper copy of their birth certificate. Well, yeah, I don't have a paper copy of my birth certificate. I have a photostatic copy. I never had my original birth certificate, but I am an American by birth, and I have evidence of that. Now, they say millions of women whose married names aren't on their birth certificates or passports would face extra steps to make their voices heard. But the bottom line here is that if you're married and your name doesn't match your passport, then it's not valid. You are required to legally update your passport when you change your name.
When your legal name it has to go on your passport. That's correct.
And how are all these Americans boarding planes? You have to have real ID to board a plane.
Well, the Real ID Act, the driver's license, if you have a Real ID driver's license, you would have a real ID, government recognized.
But your driver's license doesn't state your citizenship, does it?
But no, you have to prove your citizenship to get the Real ID on your. If you get your standard operator's license, it doesn't do you any good. So a standard operator's license, driver's license, wouldn't get me in a federal building today. If I had to go into a federal building, I could not, because I don't have the proper ID. By having the Real ID, the driver's license that has a little gold star on it or whatever it is, I had to prove, I believe with a birth certificate, if I remember correctly, that I am a U.S. citizen. The problem is, here's a thought on that. Since you brought that up and you're questioning this, Chris, have you ever had to order a new birth certificate from the hospital in which you were born and they just mail you one? I mean, I just pretty much contacted them and say, I need a copy of my birth certificate, pay the fee, and they mail one to my house. I don't remember having to prove identification that it was me to get the birth certificate.
Well, John, I don't know where you were born, but in Maryland, hospitals aren't the keepers of birth certificates. The birth certificates are from the
county.
county.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, from the county. So I'm not sure, but I've never tried to order one, so it isn't germane. I don't need one. I mean, I when I joined the military, I just had a photostatic copy of it and actually altered my name because there was a mistake made on it. So I fixed it when I entered the Army because I've been using my name legally in the fashion it's supposed to be for go to university and for my Social Security card. So it was easy to do. But yeah, I don't understand what the umbrage is all about this, unless it's just to get illegals to vote. I mean, what's the point of this?
Right, for sure.
What's the problem with producing identification? They tried this stuff for years saying, well, it's racist. Black people don't have ID cards. I'm like, really? Who are all these black people standing here collecting their prescription medications at the pharmacies when I'm in the queue? Who are all these black people that are going to hospitals producing identification to get treatment? Who are all these black people that are busy buying smokes, producing a photo ID to prove their age?
Paying taxes, owning businesses.
But you don't have to. Yeah, but who are these black people who physically go and buy booze at the package store and you have to produce ID to show your age? But no black people have identification. What's stupid, arrogant bigotry and racism and soft bigotry against black people, saying they're too stupid or lazy to get ID card. I find it quite insulting.
Yeah, there was a funny bit, and I've talked about this before. This was on Bill O'Reilly years ago, whenever they had Waters World, before Waters had his own thing. He went to New York City and was talking to African Americans. He's like, "Do you know how to go get an ID? Where to go get it?" The guy gave him spot on directions. He's like, "Yeah, go up here. Here's the subway. Take it down to this. Get off. Go over." Gave him step by step instruction. He did that. He's like, "Yep, took me right to where I get a driver's license." He's like, "What do you say when people tell you can't get a driver's license? You don't know where to go. Don't know how to go about it." He's like, "Well, here's the steps in New York State." And he went through them. He's like, "Here you go." He's like, "It's not that hard." And he's like, "So would you say it was racist? People saying that you couldn't get an ID to vote?" He's like, "Yeah, that's racist." And he's like, "Well, would you be?" The Democrats basically have been saying that for decades about you people, not you people, but African Americans. And he's like, Yeah, he's like, oh yeah, I don't want to vote for Democrats anymore. He's like, I didn't know that.
It's
But I've been
demeaning.
making,
It's
but
demeaning to say that.
I've been making this argument long before some of these famous celebrities, like Officer Tatum, ever mentioned this. I've been saying this for decades, that it's deeply insulting to Black Americans, among others, and it's just ridiculous. I mean, if the argument is there are people who lack identification, then why aren't the people concerned about that renting vans, driving around neighborhoods and apartment complexes and rural areas, and offering free rides to go into the county to get issued state identification at no charge?
Right.
Why aren't they paying for that?
No charge.
So it's just fraud. It's just all fraud.
Hey.
They want people who are not eligible to vote. They want felons to vote, people who've abrogated the right to decide who our political leaders are by committing violent crimes. No,
Yeah.
that's unacceptable.
They
I'm
make
not
it
gonna
so
accept
easy to get a driver's license in this country. They'll give you a test in Spanish if you need it.
Yeah.
No, that's ridiculous. I mean, look, utter nonsense. Last night, I heard more Spanish than I ever want to hear sitting at the airport in Dallas waiting for American Airlines, or as I prefer to call them, America Tardy Lines, 80% never on time scheduling. Once again, late. It was late getting there, late coming back. So I got home at 2 o'clock in the morning thanks to American Airlines. They can never pull off anything. And I got on a plane that didn't even have a in-flight entertainment system. I had to use my phone to use the in-flight entertainment. And then I was watching the curling where the U.S. lost it on the last, the Swedes beat them to get the gold medal. We got the silver medal. And as they curled the stone down the ice, it froze up.
Oh, man.
Live TV. I couldn't watch it anymore. Like, seriously. Anyway.
I love some curling, though. That's cool.
Oh, Chris, did you hear that, Todd? Chris is accustomed to traveling first class, high class over here. Tell you what, man, I'm a Southwest Airlines kind of guy. I get that
First
cheap seat, and I got my
dude.
phone out.
Dude, that was an economy seat for $700 to Dallas.
Ooh,
Economy.
That.
Ooh.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
First class. I wouldn't know what first class is.
Well, you're talking about entertainment and stuff and televisions. I just don't know what that is.
The plane I flew down on had seat back entertainment systems. I plugged in my little earphones and listened, because they didn't have earphones in the flight, and I expected that. It's because they never have anything. I plugged it in and I watched The Big Bang Theory. It kept me entertained for a while. But yeah, $679 for an economy seat.
And you didn't even get to see Daily or get to go to the museum at Daily Plaza.
Dealey Plaza. No, I did not. Yeah, I did not get to do that. But I had an amazing trip, guys. You haven't even asked me about that. Todd, why don't you interview about my trip to Dallas?
Yeah. So tell me about it. What else did you get to do? I saw some of your stuff on Billy Painter's page. Some of your interviews with some folks down there. What was the purpose of it? The entire visit. I know you had a meet and greet down there.
Well, I'm not going to answer your questions because you never asked me until I prompted you.
I think we just saw the feminine side of Chris Wyatt.
The leftist Colonel Chris Wyatt. This is Bizarro Chris Wyatt has showed up today.
This is all about my feelings. Anyway,
how did you feel on the trip? How did you feel?
I felt angry that I had to wait for an hour and a half to leave the airport. Anyway, but seriously, okay, let's get to it. So, of course, you guys know, you followed that the program that President Trump started on the 7th of February last year, which, by the way, on the 7th of February this year, we commemorated the 1-year anniversary of his executive order stopping foreign aid to South Africa and creating the refugee program. And after 1 year, just shy of 2,000 people here. But remember, it was a proof of concept in country. It took a long time to get it going. And now it's the salt is flowing now. The tears are flowing for the government of South Africa as hundreds of South Africans are leaving almost every day, coming to America now. The numbers are really rising. But I saw with the report, well, I knew already that the largest number of refugees had gone to Texas of any of the states. And so I when I appeared on Caravan at Midnight a few weeks back, I contacted Brandy Wells because they're based in Dallas too. I said, listen, I'm going to come down there and we're going to have a meet and greet for the refugees, a chance to meet with me. And it turns out that some of the people that I've met previously in South Africa, they came to my meet and greets in South Africa. And so cool. It was from a couple different locations, from Strand, from Bloberg, that's another place. Anyway, so that was the whole plan. So I flew down and I stayed near a place where one of the South African who's lived here for years has built up a good life over here. And he set up a place. I got that from Brendy through someone else whom I actually know his friend. So, 6 degrees of separation, Kevin Bacon going on here. It was really just 3 degrees. We wound up with a lovely venue. And I was supposed to do it the week prior, but the ice storms in Dallas prevented flights for 5 days from Harrisburg. So I had to reschedule everything for a week later, which cost me more money. So, but anyway, that's life. but it worked out rather serendipitously because that meant instead of the 31st of January, on the 7th of February, the 1 year anniversary, I was actually in Texas greeting the largest contingent of refugees that have come to America so far from South Africa. So I had some guests, John B. Wells, the Caravan to Midnight, former Coast to Coast host, along with Brandy Wells, his wife, who's South African, and then also had Mr. Sheets, who's running for the State Agricultural Commission there. And we had a little local budding celebrity there, Lili van der Plas, who is someone who's a refugee in South Africa who's now helping recruit, working for a crew to get jobs for the South Africans coming over. So we had this meet and greet. We had about 85 people show up for it. It was a really lovely thing. But the temperature was 84 degrees. I was barely in the sun. I got fried in the sun. Yeah, what a stark contrast from 2 weeks prior when it's 17 degrees. So it went very well. And then after that, on Sunday, at my hotel before I left, I interviewed a couple who came over, a really interesting couple. And then after that, I went down to another hotel, which was close to refugees, about a quarter mile from where they're staying at, a big cluster of them. And I went over and met another 25 refugees from South Africa at one of the apartment complexes. And then I interviewed one of them that evening and talked to her about some mental health challenges and about bringing pets over. And then the next day, I interviewed another person who had actually arrived in Maine and wasn't happy about being in Maine, so self-relocated to Texas and is very happy right now. And then on Tuesday before I left, I went and went to 2 different complexes and met with another 10 South Africans. So in all, I met with about, I would say probably about 90 of the refugees in South Africa, the 250. And that number has gone up since then because more are coming in. It was fantastic. I had South African cuisine at the meet and greet, but like most good leaders, I focused on everyone else and didn't get anything to eat. So people noticed I hadn't eaten anything. And so they set some food aside for me because the food was all gone when I went to look for food. And so I didn't say anything. I said, that's fine. And then they made sure they brought me some food, which was pretty cool. And I really appreciate that. But it was quite an exciting event. And I wish all the people in Texas very well. It was very heartwarming. And the people, most of these people had followed me for a long time. And they profusely thanked me and over again for my insights, my analysis, the refugee program, almost to a man and woman. They're like, if it hadn't been for my program, they would have been at a loss as to what to do and understand what was happening. And they would have been on pins and needles. They were on pins and needles anyway, but I kept reassuring people that it's going to be okay. And they all thanked me. And so it was very, very rewarding and quite a satisfying experience being down there, Todd. I really enjoyed it. Other than missing the museum at Dealey Plaza again. It went pretty well.
Yeah, they got you. Yeah, it was a conspiracy. That was another conspiracy. They closed it up just before you showed up. I'm hearing. I just got that message in. We do have a comment here. It says Night to Justice says Colonel rocked in Texas. There you go. So that is good. A lot of comments over here in the comment section praising the Colonel for going down there. Good job. So anything else about the refugee program that maybe you got some more insight while you were down there? Maybe some things you weren't aware of that somebody brought it to your attention by chance?
Not so much. In fact, I was reassuring some people about what's happening with the program. I mean, these are all people who've come over on it. What I can say is that every man and woman that I met who came over and we had conversations, private conversation about their experiences, all of them had legitimate reasons to be here. All of them were vetted. They've all confirmed what I said. The background investigations are quite thorough. And of course, I know this because I did background investigations as a counterintelligence agent for the Army. But these background investigations are quite thorough, and oftentimes they're surprised at how much the government knows about them. They weren't expecting that.
I do have a question on your ID card at that time. Did it say that you did background checks anywhere on there?
No, it didn't.
Okay,
say
I just want to make sure.
It also said I didn't work at a strip club as a pole dancer. So
it did not say. Oh wow,
that only goes on the resume. It doesn't go on the ID card.
Right? Yeah, for sure. John, what's going on down there with you? I see you're chilling in the. Where's the lights at tonight? I don't see much of the lights.
Kind of dark in the studio. Yeah, looks like he's in a beige Navy ship.
I mean.
Well, the Christmas lights are off. Maybe that's why we're.
It looks very green in there. Is it green?
They're going out is what it is. They need to be replaced. Half of them don't work anymore.
I see a few above the American flag working, but that's just a couple.
I got that light, but I don't like it.
Nah, it's better without the light. But it looks like you're in a beige tunnel there.
Yeah,
I guess it is kind of dark. We got a lighting system up here and over my head here by the door, and I guess it's just not it doesn't light it up like you would for like a TV. Like Chris is pretty well lit up where he's at. So where you, Todd, I guess. But yeah, I look like I got some sort of filter or something, don't I?
Oh yeah.
Well, I have studio lights, and of course they're Chinese, and I got them from Amazon. I've actually replaced the bulbs once in the past 6 years, which is pretty good actually. They last quite a while. So, yep. But they are studio lights, which are kind of handy because without them, and I can change them. If you guys know that, so I can. But this is the best look. So this is warm. Ugh, that hurts my eyes with that. And then this is cold.
Kind of blue,
and
Brings up
then
the blue light.
this is white. I don't like the white. That's painful in my eyes. So I go back to the cold, and that's the most comfortable. And I actually have other lights here that light up different colors. But anyway, folks, you're listening to Common Sense Conservatives right here on WSMN 95.3, 1590 in your AM dial every Wednesday night with my co-host Todd McKinley in East Tennessee, John Grosvenor in studio in Nashua, New Hampshire. And I'm Chris Wyatt in Central Pennsylvania. And courtesy of technology, we're able to bring you the show every Wednesday evening from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come rain or shine or snow. Unlike the mailman who doesn't deliver on Sundays, we deliver whenever this day falls every Wednesday. And whether it's Christmas or New Year's, it's a holiday, we're here. And we're happy to do it. We appreciate the audience who listens to us over the terrestrial links in New Hampshire and the environs around that. And if you get a skip wave and pick it up maybe in New Mexico because it's nighttime, that's pretty awesome. And for those who listen to us on the internet. And I just received a super chat on my channel saying it was awesome meeting and greeting in Texas. Well, thank you so much for that. Now I'm trying to picture who Knight of Justice is. I mean, I'm trying to which of the people I met. They were fantastic.
It was Batman. It was Bruce Wayne, probably.
Yeah, there you go. But no, the South Africans that I met in Texas were truly wonderful, warm people, and so unbelievably grateful to be here and be having escaped from persecution back in South Africa. Yeah.
Okay. Somebody just popped in the chat. House votes to cancel Trump's tariffs on Canada. I don't know who brought that to a vote, but interesting to see if that goes through, if that's true.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either. I've been kind of peeking through some of the news, but
Six Republicans defied Trump on this, so they should all be primaried.
I see Canada's trying to make a presence in Greenland now. I guess they've been planning on it for a year or so, but it's kind of interesting.
Well, 6 Republicans have just joined with Democrats. This was literally filed just an hour or so ago. Joined with Democrats in a vote to repeal his tariffs on Canada, but they don't have the authority to do that. Trump has to sign the bill. So, I mean, I don't understand. Yeah, and it also has to go to the Senate. So, what are they talking about? They have no authority to constrain the executive branch like this.
No.
So this is just virtue signaling. So,
well, they give them the authority to do the tariffs in the first place because they did fall upon the Congress. And Congress decided that it was too slow in action, so they give the power to the president because the president would have more flexibility. And that's what Trump is acting upon.
So who are the 6 Republicans? Take a guess. Thomas Massey. Yep. Don Bacon, Kevin Kiley, Jeff Hurd, Brian Fitzpatrick from Pennsylvania, and Dan Newhouse. Brian Fitzpatrick might as well just go and change that R to a D because he's not a Republican. He's never been one. So here's the thing. They will send it to the Senate. The Senate already passed a similar measure to cancel Trump's tariffs, which, unlike most measures, can be passed a simple majority rather than 60 votes. But here's the thing. Even if the Senate agrees on this bill, then Trump will veto it. And they don't have the 2/3 to override him. So this is just virtue signaling by morons. And I think they should all be primaried. They have no business serving in Congress if their objective is simply to do virtue signaling like this. You're supposed to do real work in Congress. You know that the president will never veto this. So if you're not in favor of it, abstain. Just don't vote against it. The stupid people should wear signs. They really should.
I mean, because it costs Congress. I mean, I don't know how much it costs the taxpayers. A lot of money every time they bring up some sort of vote here. It costs every time they're in session, every time that they're doing these things, whether it's virtue signal or they're actually trying to pass real legislation. It costs the taxpayers a heck of a lot of money to have them in session.
Well, but the thing is here too is that there are real issues on the table, like funding Homeland Security. Why aren't they focused on that instead of this idiotic virtue signaling? This is the problem with these idiots in D.C. They're not legitimate. I think most of these people don't deserve to be in Congress. They should simply be removed, excised from the body politic because they're just demonic crap weasels. That's what they are, demonic crap weasels, Todd.
That's right. Demonic crap weasels.
That's exactly right. Would you disagree with me, John?
No, I don't think I would. I'm not a big fan of government anyway.
Most are, yeah.
So,
it's funny. It's it's probably the wrong person for office for, say, Congress, the House, Senate, whatever. Whenever a lot of their money flows from outside of your state or your district, it's the wrong person at that point because they went outside your district and said, "No problem, I'll sell these people out in exchange for your support." So when the money comes from outside of your state or your district, you know it's the wrong person. Just bear that in mind, folks.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point.
You're talking about most lobbies, right? I mean,
Yeah, any politician that takes a lot of money from outside, a special interest PACs, whatever the case may be, or assistants whenever whenever they're running for election. Let's say an outside PAC comes in and does a mailer for you, attacking your opponent to the tune of $10,000, a pop, and does several of those. That's money you didn't have to raise or spend of your own. Why would outside money care about a small district? They're buying a politician, essentially is what it is. Be careful the people who go outside their district and get a lot of funding, whether it's money directly to their campaign or whether it's PAC money. It's people that went outside of your district to sell you out.
100%. I don't disagree with that at all. We talked a bit about the Olympics in the last hour. Let me come back to that now at the bottom of this last hour here. In 1968, so Tommy Freeman, I don't remember exact name, but 2 black athletes did the Black Panther salute at the Mexico City Olympics. And they were rightly banned from further participation in amateur athletics in the U.S. by the Olympic Committee, and they were roundly criticized by many Americans. What I have to say about those gentlemen, though, is that they had courage and conviction. They were wrong morally, but they had courage and conviction. They knew there would be consequences, and they did it. There are no consequences for scumbags today who act foolish, like we see Megan Rapinoe taking a knee while wearing a uniform that I paid for out of my pocket by making donations to the U.S. soccer team, which never occurred again after that scumbag did that. It's one thing for her to act like a fool when she plays for a Seattle professional club and do that, but wearing the national colors, or when the U.S. women's rugby team in New Zealand in 2022, after the cowards delayed the Rugby World Cup from 2021 to 2022, taking a knee. And the hypocrisy and the irony and the lunacy of watching a predominantly white women's team kneeling while the Japanese people of color and the Fijians people of color stood and proudly sang their anthems. Disgraceful. None of them should be playing and wearing United States uniform. But we have these athletes doing this crap all the time. So now we've got athletes weighing in. One of them opening his mouth saying he's not comfortable, playing for the Olympic team in our country because of what ICE is doing. Well, this is a person who's exactly. This is an idiot who doesn't believe in the rule of law. He thinks that pedophiles, rapists, and murderers should walk free in the neighborhood simply because they're illegal. This leftist lunacy. But we've had a lot of these athletes weigh in with opening their cake holes, and one of them is U.S. figure skater Amber Glenn. And she's firing back at her critics after she won a gold medal. She kept her mouth shut for a little bit.
Oh, of course
she previously went viral for speaking out about the queer experience under President Trump. So what is this queer experience? I heard her and I said, what exactly is her beef? What has Trump done to the gay community? What? I've seen nothing. Trump has done to the gay community. Not a darn thing, but they want to lie about it.
He's given him a venue at nearly every event he's held down at Mar-a-Lago. I mean, there's people that are gay, that are openly gay, that are part of these events at Mar-a-Lago. I mean, different fundraising events, whatever the case may be. They're right there front and center. So what does she talk about? Has he banned people from Mar-a-Lago, kicked them out of the White House?
But see, that's my point. Is she makes these unfounded
as cabinet officials right now, though.
Well, of course. No, it's okay. But I mean, this is the point. They make these idiotic statements without they don't make any claims. Look, at least with people that are into murdering American children in the womb, at least they make the argument. Trump supported the Dobbs decision, so we hate him. Okay, you're wrong, but I appreciate where you're coming from. At least offering something. But she said, "What Trump for the queer experience? What did Trump do to the queer experience? Not a darn thing." Anyway, she took a break from social media, citing hate comments she got for her anti-American scumbag comments. But this week, she went right back after getting the Golden Team event alongside Elisa Liu. She went to TikTok with photos of her and Liu overlaid with the sound, "Hoes mad." They hate to see 2 woke biatches winning. Yep. If woke means people who use their platforms to advocate for marginalized communities in the country that they're actively representing, then yeah, sure. Wow. Now, she got a backlash for her comments. And she asked, and people asking how she feels about competing for the U.S. this year. It's been a hard time for the community overall under this administration. Okay, it isn't the first time that we've come together as a community to try to fight for our human rights. Gay rights are not human rights. The special rights are not human rights. Right. Now, especially, it's not just affecting the queer community, but many other communities. And I think we're able to support each other in a way that we didn't have to before. Because of that, it's made us a lot stronger. I hope I can use my platform, my voice throughout these games to encourage people to stay strong in these hard times. Now, here's the thing. She and other of these athletes whine about how their opinions are being suppressed. But Donald Trump's opinion apparently isn't valuable. Their opinion matters, but not Donald Trump's opinion. These people are such lunatics that they don't deserve to wear the American flag on the uniform. They should be barred from further participation. If it costs us medals, it costs us medals.
So they're being put upon here. I'm like, you just want a gold medal. You have a major platform on social media if you want to use it any way you want to do good or bad, and now you want to pretend like you've been oppressed in some way. I'm sorry, you can go on the talk show circuit whenever you get back to the U.S. with a gold medal around your neck. Come on now.
So my question about this is with other communities. So what communities is she aligning with? Is she aligning with criminal alien invaders, predators, convicted murderers, rapists, pedophiles? Is that the community? Is that the marginalized community she's talking about? They're not marginalized. They're criminals. They don't belong here. Illegal aliens have no business in this country. There's a proper way to enter this country, just like there is in any other country. Adhere to it, and then you're welcome here. We get tens of millions of visitors every year. We get millions of people come here and stay here. We get students. We get green card holders. We get lots of people come here. I'm sick of these so-called geniuses who know nothing about politics running their mouth. They don't even understand the Constitution. And I'm also sick of these lies about Trump and the gay community. Trump has done more for gay people than many of these people. It's like the black community. Trump's a racist. Really? Really? What did Joe Biden do for the black community other than create a culture of dependency? Nothing. In fact, he insulted the black community every turn. You ain't black if you don't vote for me. Remember that? Remember that, John?
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Yeah. Anyway, black people don't vote for me. I'm sitting there thinking as you're talking, and I thought Trump was pretty neutral about all these things, kind of like us. It's kind of like, you don't give a crap about skin color. If you're qualified, you're qualified. Great. If you want to talk about something on the street where we're standing there talking to individuals, we'll have a conversation. No problem. Gay, black, Asian, whatever, doesn't matter. That's not a point of issue. You're a human being. I'm a human being. We're just going to have a discussion. And I think that's how Trump views things. If you're qualified to have a conversation with him, he doesn't give a crap about your skin color. He's not going to go out of his way just because you're gay. He's not going to go out of his way just because you're a certain skin color. He's just going to be neutral. That's how we would expect a president to be. They want to say he's not very presidential. Yeah, I might say sometimes he needs not be so agitating. Maybe he shouldn't poke at people like he does. I know he does it for a reason. It's part of his method. It's part of how he operates.
Well, 100%.
He could be a little bit smoother on the words, but at the same time, he's a nice person to most people. If you treat him well, he'll treat you well.
Well, and they continue to lie about him. They call him a racist. Mm-hmm. They said he barred weapons from being shipped to Ukraine. They said it was in collusion with Russia. Lie after lie after lie. He interfered in elections. Lie after lie after lie. And all this proven. Yet people still believe this nonsense in America and around the world. It's unbelievable how stupid people really can be. I mean, Todd, the level of ignorance of people on the planet, just too lazy. Look, and this isn't a defense of Trump. This is a defense of the truth. A defense of the truth.
No, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And when Trump's done things wrong, we've caught him out on this show. When we said
we have
from the beginning, we said that. And
we're
fair with it.
Speaking of something wrong, let's bring this up now. I didn't see this and it was removed before I saw it, but apparently Trump retweeted or retruth something that someone posted, and it included an image of the Obamas, their heads on gorillas. But as I understand it, Joe Biden was depicted as a chimpanzee eating bananas or something like that. And the whole thing was about Trump being king of the jungle. So this to me is it was inappropriate. Trump says he didn't see the whole thing. He saw it, he watched it and liked it, and he just retweeted. I don't know what the truth is. The bottom line is that it is definitely not presidential, and he should refrain from that sort of thing.
Right.
But racist Trump, it isn't his meme. This reminds me of that stupidity of talking about the image that was produced that says, which way, man, left or right, for Greenland being with Denmark or being with the US. They call that racist. What racist? It's like the whole thing saying okay is a white supremacy symbol. Until today, I never understood what that meant. Someone's telling me that if your fingers are like this, it's the shape of a W, so that's white, and this is a power symbol. What? That's not how I say okay. I don't say okay like that. Who holds their hand up like this and says okay? I do okay like this. I put that thing up like that so that you see it straight on. These people see racism wherever they can invent it. It's absolutely ridiculous.
That's
I'm kind of curious how many people that are accusing Trump of racism because of this video would not understand the concept that he took the face of one primate and put it on the face of another primate.
Yeah, well, who is the most genetically closest genetic relative in the animal kingdom to Homo sapiens? Anybody know?
Chimpanzees, I believe, right?
Chimpanzees,
Chimpanzee.
which are
They have
apes.
almost. They have almost. Well, they're simians. They have almost the same DNA that human beings have. That's
Yeah.
pretty scary when you think about it.
And you look at their fingerprints. Their fingerprints. They look almost like human beings' fingerprints. I mean, some of them are imperceptible.
Well, look, I mean, we can't just go with appearances. I mean, Democrats look like Americans, but they're not.
That's true. That's true. We can't go on appearances. You're right, Colonel.
They're a lesser of
Just saying.
American. They're socialist.
Well, they're Ontarians. They're not in the right place. They need to move to Ontario.
That sounds like Star Trek. The Ontarians are here, Captain.
So Alberta's still on the rise. I mean, they're still doing their thing. That's kind of interesting.
You mean for the secession movement?
Secession, yeah.
Well, Alberta and I also believe who's the other one is doing? Is it Manitoba is considering it too?
Yeah, Manitoba. They're right side. They're side by side right there on the left,
Yeah,
the west.
the plains provinces of Canada.
Right.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Bringing Alberta into the country will make it a lot easier to complete the Keystone XL pipeline because then it's inside the United States.
Well, that's up. That's still up because there's some Albertans want to just be independent, and there's some that want to be the 51st state. So we'll see how that goes.
Why not bring them in? Bring Puerto Rico in. Bring Guam, some American.
No.
Puerto Rico.
50 is good.
Puerto Rico didn't want to be. Back in the 80s, they voted on stuff like that. They wouldn't. They wouldn't be part of. Wouldn't become a 51st state. We skipping Pam Bondi's confrontation in Congress here recently.
No, we're not skipping it. I didn't get a chance to catch it. So tell us about it, John. I understand it was the 3-minute rant from some demon rat who went after her. But before you do that, I'm not in favor of entering Alberta and Saskatchewan as states. I would say that we can add Alberta to Montana and add Saskatchewan to Montana, North Dakota, and expand them.
That's fine. I can get on that. That's no problem.
You like the 50? You like the 50 states thing as opposed to having an odd number or an increasing number of states?
100%. Puerto Rico, let them go independent. I'm tired of them getting tax exempt status when they're citizens and the rest of us that pay taxes. It's unfair. That's not equal protection under the Constitution. So cut them loose, cut the Marshall Islands loose, cut all the territories loose, let them go fend for themselves. The Puerto Ricans 1/3 of them want independence, then they can live with it. Instead of us subsidizing their electric grid, instead of us subsidizing their national defense, instead of us subsidizing their incomes by them not paying taxes, let them go on their own. I got no problem with that. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
All right, John. So tell us about what happened with Pam Bondi.
Well, let's see. Apparently, Nadler decided he was going to go on the attack with Pam Bondi and accuse her of not investigating for co-conspirators in the Epstein case. And
So
when she tried to answer his question, the penguin, when she tried to answer his question, he tried to shut her down. Says, "I'm reclaiming my time. I'm reclaiming my time." She goes, "No, I'm going to answer your question." And it was great. It was great. She was powerful on it. She's like, "I'm going to answer your question, but I'm going to give you the answer I want to give you." She says, "You're not playing the circus show with me. You're not going to sit here and grandstands at the word. She used theatrics. You're not going to use theatrics over here. We're going to get to the root of it." And Jordan did give her time. No, actually, the next person up gave her time to answer the question, so she could properly answer the question. But Raskin tried to chime in and stuff. But the irony about Nadler asking this question, guys, it's so stupid because Joe Biden had those Epstein files for 4 years and could have done an investigation on co-conspirators and claimed that there were no co-conspirators. They couldn't find enough information or data to make arrest or charge anybody for being co-conspirators. So what was the point of asking the question from Nadler in the first place? But, God love Pam Bondi for standing up for herself and being assertive.
No, 100%. I mean, the bottom line with all of this is that, God forbid they ever draw me in there for testimony, because if they pull crap with me, when I get to speak, I said, you can sit up there and lie all you want and tell fairy tales. It doesn't change the objective truth. And I realize that you're here as a used car salesman trying to get reelected. So you get your privilege, your self-aggrandizement, your self-enrichment, your craving political power. But the American people deserve the truth. And that's what I'm here to testify for. If you want testimony, please allow me to speak. Otherwise, I'm done here and I'll invoke the Fifth Amendment.
walk out.
He's not incriminating himself.
Yeah, if he wants to give an answer to a question he's going to pose, I'd be like, well, if you're going to testify for me, why don't you come sit down here? And I'd walk out, go back to the DOJ, be done.
I mean, there's nothing really to keep you there, is there? I mean, I guess they could charge you for contempt of Congress or something, but can they really do that?
Good luck.
I always get a kick out of contempt of Congress because Congress is contemptible.
They are. They're contempt of the American people, for crying out loud. So they have. Why should we respect that body? I mean, they're They do nothing for us to respect them for, right?
Well, it's too much when
not
they
really.
subpoena people to Congress and force them into to testify or give hearings and stuff. It's too much like answering to the crown, isn't it?
Well, the subpoenas they send out is people so they can come grandstand. Basically, it's like, oh, let's bring the Clintons in. Bring the Clintons in. We'll sit there and say a bunch of stuff at them, yell at them, fundraise off of it, and move on. Pretend like we did something.
But sometimes you do see things come out of hearings when they're voting or they're creating bills down the road. Some of that stuff may come into play as they make bills and things like that. But all in all, you're right. They use it just for theater. They use it for grandstanding. They want to show their constituents that what great, powerful men they are. We're talking about people like Nadler and Raskin who never had a callus on the hand of days or on one of their hands one day of their life.
Right.
These people never put their back into anything. They don't know what it means to do real hard work like all of us Americans, true Americans do.
I don't disagree, but I'm more interested right now in calling for criminal charges against Ro Khanna, the demon rat congressman from California, who violated classified information by listing the names of 6 people who were redacted in the Epstein files, thinking he's a clever little scumbag. I'm calling for censure of Ro Khanna and for criminal charge against him for releasing classified information. The U.S. demon rat congressman from California released the names of 6 people, and that included the founder of Victoria's Secret, Les Wexner, the 88-year-old man, as well as Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, CEO of DP World and Emirati billionaire businessman, and 4 others, Nicola Caputo, Salvatore Nuara, Zurab Mekhaladizi, and Leonid Leonov. The fact that he exposed these people publicly and their names were redacted for very good reasons that were known to the government, Ro Khanna should be charged with violation of whatever classification that Congress has for these things. It's just this is another idiot who doesn't deserve being Congress. It's morally wrong and it's legally bankrupt for him to be doing this. Any thoughts on that, Todd?
No, I think you're right. If he's going to be violating, whatever security they have in place there, willy-nilly, just thinking he's being cute or where he's getting over, he should be, whether it's a fine, whether it's a censure, or whether it's kicked out of Congress, or whether it's actually brought to charges with the DOJ somewhere. I mean, he should have to suffer the consequences, whatever they may be.
I agree 100%. But of course, when I say Ro Khanna, guess who's also involved in this? John, I'll give you one guess. What other congressman is involved in this?
Massey?
Thomas Massey. That's correct. Yeah. Now you wonder why I got an axe to grind with that loser. This is why. This guy is a scumbag. He is another freaking Lisa Murkowski in the Senate, another Susan Collins, another Mitch McConnell, except he's in the House. Another one of these rhinos.
He has got a great support from his constituents, but I don't know what's going on with him.
Well, having great support from your constituents just means there's a lot of stupid people in his district.
To those in his district, listen to the show. This is Chris Wyatt's opinion.
That's right. The opinions are the opinions of the host on this program, and that's my opinion. And if you're dumb enough to vote for an idiot like this who's anti-American and pro-demon rat as a Republican, well, then that's on you, not on me. I didn't vote for him. My representative was the former leader of the Freedom Caucus, Scott Perry, and I happily voted for him. Anyway, there you go, folks. That's where we're at on that. So, guys, it's interesting times. It never changes when it comes to politics in America. But let's take a moment and reflect. We are rapidly approaching July 4th, 2026, 250th anniversary of the independence of this great nation, this great experiment in representative democracy. Todd, have you thought or have you got anything planned for the 4th of July?
No, nothing planned outside of probably doing whatever I normally would do any 4th of July. I'm sure it's going to be a little bit more special, but nothing particular at the moment. I've not really thought that far out to do a special plan. So we'll see.
Well, the one thing is the 4th of July is not on a Wednesday night, so we won't be broadcasting. It's on a Saturday night this year, so we won't be broadcasting that. But what about you, John? Anything that you thought about the 4th of July this year?
Currently, I have no plans for that. I'm usually taking my time off around holidays, trying to catch up on work I got to do around the house. But now that you brought it up, though, we had a family member that celebrated every 4th of July, invited family and stuff like that over. And he last year was his last year. He said he's going to do it. So maybe I ought to talk to the wife and we start making some plans this year for a pool party or something. I mean, we got to have we got to do something. It's the 250th anniversary of the United States of America.
Yeah.
And we love our country and we should celebrate it in some way or another. And at least if nothing else, family gatherings and so on and so forth.
100%. Yeah, it's I don't have plans yet, but I'm already formulating plans for the 250th. I'm really looking forward to it. It's amazing to be alive. I remember the bicentennial. Not like it was yesterday because it was 50 years ago, but I do remember the bicentennial. But I remember the patriotism, the fervor over the bicentennial. Everything was bicentennial related. Everybody was into it. That 4th of July was absolutely amazing. And here we're on the 250th anniversary, and the country is divided with these people who hate America, these leftists who would do everything to undermine it, destroy it, and those who are patriots. And who knows what's going to happen on the 4th, but I'm looking forward to the 4th of July. I'm not in a hurry to get there. Once you get past a certain age in life, you're not in a hurry for the next day to get here.
No, for sure.
Take your time. Yes.
I have no problem with, if we get too close to the sun, we get time dilation and warping and we slow down, because I'm okay with that. But, it's like Captain Dillahunt and the Starship Andromeda caught into a black hole, and he's caught and doesn't age for centuries until it flips out of there. And 200 years later, the Starship Andromeda comes out, and the whole galaxy has changed. Well, the galaxy is changing around us each and every day, and it never seems to end. So what have we not covered tonight? I know that John wanted to talk about the Pam Bondi thing with the Penguin there, Jerry Nadler. But Todd, have we missed anything that we should cover tonight?
No, I think we're square. We're spot on. Free flowing discussion. That's what we do here, and unless we have a guest. And I think you covered everything pretty much fairly well. I'd like to hear maybe next week if we could get maybe a couple people from South Africa who's participated in the refugee program and maybe call in and give us their thoughts on that. What do you think, John?
That might be a good idea. That would be fun, I think. At least for the
I'd really
first
like to
hour
get
or
some insight.
something.
Yeah, I'd love to get some insight to see what their thoughts are. If you could throw out the number there, and of course we'll remind everybody next week for sure.
You want me to throw out the number now? I mean,
if you don't mind.
Everybody's got a paper and pen, or this is being recorded. So on Facebook or other social medias, you'll find be able to get this information. But the number here in the studio is 603-816-1590. That's 1590, just like the 1590 AM
station.
So 603-816-1590.
There we go. Perfect. Yeah. Hopefully if you're a refugee from South Africa, participate in the program, and especially if you know the colonel, call in. Love to hear from you maybe next week and get some insight from your experiences.
Well, there you go. That'd be fantastic. I think it's been a while since we've taken calls, so that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Did you guys hear about this candidate in North Carolina who's running as a Republican, but she's a progressive? Katie Barr.
Yeah.
She's running for the state's 14th congressional district. She says she's making no attempt to hide her political affiliations and rejects the idea that she's trying to trick people by running as a Republican. Well, of course she is. If you go on the campaign website, above the fold, as they say, it's like, I'm not a real Republican. Like, I'm telling people the truth. I knock on the door and say I'm running a Republican primary, but I'm not a Republican. I'm a progressive. I can't claim a Democrat anymore. And you're not trying to pull a fast one. One of the hosts in a podcast she did said, no, not trying to pull a fast one. Like, I'm dead honest with people about what I would do if I win. And she said she's running because she's an American. She cares about a community. Running as Republican is the only way to kick these corrupt cowards out of office. Your leaders should represent you. You should be able to vote them out. And when they do a bad job, like they're doing right now. But she is trying to run as Republican to hoodwink people who probably don't get well informed and just vote straight ticket Republican.
Right.
I got to tell you, who was the first Republican progressive? Was it Theodore Roosevelt?
Well, he was
a Republican, and he turned progressive, created the Bull Moose Party.
Right.
Yeah, well, that was after he lost. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the Progressive Party, but they started calling it the Bull Moose Party. Yeah, just because of him. Yeah.
Yep. So, I mean, it was a Republican that changed into being a progressive. I mean, progressivism started way back in the mid 1800s or something like that.
Right.
But Roosevelt was the first to really come out of it, and ironically, his nephew became president with all these progressive ideas.
Or distant cousin, fifth cousin. But anyway,
was it? I thought it was a nephew.
No,
they're cousins. They're cousins.
FDR was fifth cousin.
Oh, geez. Okay, I got it wrong.
King Franklin was his cousin. So, yeah, King Franklin Delano Roosevelt. That's why we have an amendment.
Bully for him.
Bully.
Yeah. No, the Roosevelts did grave damage to this country, and we're still living with it today. Living with today.
The interesting thing about Theodore is he seemed like he was an interesting person in his youth and stuff. The type of man he was, it was amazing to think, or I don't know about amazing. That's not the right word for it. It was incredible to think that he would become a progressive. I don't know where this came from or how it came about, but.
Well, I think some of this stuff, the way it's applied, I mean, it's not the same as progressive today. For instance, he was a conservationist, not an environmental green wackadoodle. He believed in preserving things, but at the same time, he loved shooting big game and driving buffalo and lions to extinction. That was, so there's some contradictions there. I think the term is applied differently. It's Democrats once represented the working class. They once represented the Constitution. And classical liberal ideals are things like freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of worship, but they're anti-freedom of speech, anti-freedom of assembly, anti-freedom of worship. And that's who they are today. They prefer censorship and government control. That's not who the Democrats were. And so, what is a Democrat today? Things change over time. I mean, John Kennedy had one of the biggest tax cuts in American history until Reagan and Trump came along. He lowered the tax rate from 90% against wealthy Americans to down around 45, if I'm not mistaken. That was John Fitzgerald Kennedy. He was a Democrat. And, the only thing trait about him that's clear that stays consistent to this day is, he's a serial philanderer. I mean, that's pretty common for Democrats, apparently. Todd's on silent there. We can't hear him.
Mm-hmm. No, I said, I was laughing at it and I said Republicans too. Now, come on.
No. Lots of politicians. I'm just having a little fun there. Yeah, every Wednesday night, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll catch you next week, folks, right here. Every Wednesday night, 7 to 9 p.m. Have a good evening. God bless. Thanks to my co-hosts, John and Todd. Take care. God bless America.